about to get started to see which one can be the most retarded. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, don't tell them what to say. Tinfoil haters are here to save the day. And Sammy are about to get started to see which one can be the most retarded. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show.
Welcome back to another Tinfoil Haters. How are all you vital idols doing? Yes, we're about an hour and a half late, but what can I tell you? Sometimes the personal life just has to come first. We're going to get all into it. We have a fucking great conspiracy today brought to us by our guest, Hayden Wayne. Man, we've been trying to have you on forever. This would be great. Tell people who you are, what you do, and why this particular theory.
So I am Hayden Wayne 75. Most of you guys probably have seen me bouncing around on the internet. I make videos every once in a while, and I co-host a couple of live streams, but I'm happy to be here. Yes, we have been trying to make this one happen for a little while now. And man, this one, it goes deeper than just the Mandela Effect. You know, there's something else to it, and there's some evidence that it might actually be true. This is my favorite conspiracy, so I'm happy to dive into this one with you guys.
It's actually honestly one of mine as well. I love this. So like the Mandela Effect is great. We always plan on doing the Mandela Effect, but going into the CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, like what is actually could call it, like that's a whole nother ballgame. Before we get into that, my lovely partner in crime here, what are you doing? There we go, Sammy. Like, oh, let's tell people who you are and what you do.
I'm Sammy Threepeat. I'm a Detroit-based musician. I also got a couple shows online. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter. But right now, and I don't know what you're talking about. We've always started at 9:30.
Yes, that's see.
Ironically enough, when Leon told me we were going to be late, I was like, "Wait, so that puts us at like 10:30, right?" He was like, "No, homie, 8." I was like, "Wait, what?" I get confused about time zones.
Time zones.
Oh yeah.
Our first episode, we fucked it up.
Yeah,
with each other. It was just me and him, and we screwed it up.
I didn't know that we were in different time zones because, like Michigan and Missouri, they're right on top of one. Like you wouldn't know if there's a fucking time. It's stupid. And of course, the ever lovely Senevier. Tell the people who you are and what you do.
Hi, cuties. Oh my goodness, I look forward to this every week. Like I love conspiracies. So, like loving anime and loving video games, it is just natural to love a good conspiracy theory.
Absolutely. And it's also natural to love a pre-stream legend, Jake Martin, coming in with that 10-banger right at the start of the show. Homie, you didn't need to, you did. It means the absolute world to me, so we could get you your clip, and then we're going to say hi to the chat, and then we'll get into it.
You know what? You just made the list. Oh, no. Oh, here we go.
Bingo, bango, bongo. Thank you so much. Who all we got here? Of course, Cinevere came in saying, woohoo! First, we got Dark Excess in the house. How you doing? Paul Byersmith is here. Again, thank you so much, Jake. You didn't need to, but you did. Lunar Lucidity, Little Miss Anonymous saying, be yowdy, y'all. Let's see. We got, of course, Hayden Wayne is here. Going to be talking to you guys in chat as well. Let's see. Do we got, I know it's going to be a little bit of a slow start due to the time change. Sned is here. How you doing, Sned? Truly appreciate you for showing up. Philip Morgan is in the house. Dementia Sweets. It's CERN. It certainly might be. That was rough. I tried. All right, guys, that is everybody. Let's I guess let's start simple. First of all, before we get into the sci-fi or maybe science fact aspect of CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, is everybody here familiar with the Mandela Effect? And do you believe in it? Like, do you believe that there are multiple crossover universes, so some of these memories may be legit, some may not, things to that effect. Satan, we'll start with you.
Yeah. So my belief on this is that all of the people who say, like Berenstain Bears, did the fruit of the loom have the cornucopia?
That's
did
another
it
one
not?
of my favorites.
Like, so I personally think that everybody has their correct memories, and that at one point, two universes collided, and whenever they collided, they were mirror universes. So you just kind of the more dominant of the two persons in that universe, or in those two different universes, whenever they collided, boom, you're now the one that exists, because the two universes collided. The other person ceases to exist. But the same people, you're running in a parallel timeline. There are just subtle differences that happened in those timelines. So then we end up in current universe, where some people remember thing from other universe and some people remember thing from current universe. Now, we won't ever know which one is current universe or which one is other universe, but the memories that you have is an indication of what universe it is you were from. Because a lot of the time, it seems like whenever people have these different memories, if they have the one that isn't real, right, they seem to be in line most of the time with all the rest of the people that remember that. So all of these people have very similar memories. You rarely find points of like convergence or divergence, I guess, where people will remember one thing and then not remember another thing and say that it never existed. Usually those people are kind of lumped in together, which I think kind of lends a little bit of credence to the theory.
No, I agree, and I actually want to get into some of the really popular ones that we may or may agree on or disagree, not agree or disagree, but have the same or different memories on. Cinnamon, what about you? Do you believe in the Mandela Effect?
Oh, for sure. And my sister really believes in it, so she'll test my knowledge. Like, hey, is it Berenstein or Berenstein? And I'm like, oh man, because that's usually going to lead into a long lecture. So yeah, it's like. I find it fascinating because like she'll remember things differently than I do. So I'm like, oh, this is neat. I really do like the concept.
Now, first, before I ask you, Sammy, does anybody even remember Berenstain? Because that's the one. I've never met anyone that remembers Berenstain in my life. Everyone remembers Berenstain. You as well, Sammy? Like you? Because I know
I've never heard it, and maybe it's just because. Bernstein is probably a much more common name. I have a pretty common last name, but for one letter, and everyone always adds that letter into my name to change it up. So I was like, maybe it's something like that, but I don't remember anyone ever going the Berenstain Bears. Like,
never. Oh, sorry, go for it, Cindy.
It was only Berenstein, right?
That's how I remember. That's how everyone I know remembers it. But what about you, Sammy? Do you believe in the Mandela Effect as a whole? Because prior to starting the show, you were talking backstage about how a lot of this is explainable, which I do agree with. A lot of them
are. A lot of it's explainable. A lot of it's psychology. But yes, I 100% believe in it. I especially like the way Hayden described it, because that means I won. And
we are the victors.
But yeah, no, there's things like that that you can't explain. But so a good one was the Monopoly guy in his monocle. One thing that I remembered the other day is in Ace Ventura, when nature calls, when he knocks the guy out and goes, "It's the Monopoly guy." He's got a monocle on. So like it's like things that, okay, there might have not been this in the actual proper use of whatever the subject is, but in like pop culture, whatever, like we've since added those things. Like a good example would be Henry VIII, like eating a turkey leg. They're like, there's no
I actually got a list of some of the common ones that we're going to pull up. That's one of them. Yeah,
there's no list of that. But I'm saying, but over the years and years and years, for some reason, we think it's funny as hell to put the turkey leg in there. So it just kind of became its own lore with that. So, I mean, there are things that I can explain away. There are things that I can definitely not explain away. So I believe in it 100%.
So, yeah, let's go through some of these common ones first. And, I brought up a list, and we'll see what universe we all belong or belonged to. So, yeah, the first one is Henry VIII with the turkey leg. Now, like you said, that's kind of become a cultural meme. So, I mean, I remember him with the turkey leg, but that could be because cartoons growing up, he's depicted like that as a joke, and that strikes the memory. So, what do you guys think on this one? Did he ever have a turkey leg?
I thought he did. Like I remember him having one, and again, it could be because of the pop culture stuff. It's totally possible. This is one of the easier ones that you can look at that and go, okay, yeah, there may be something there.
Yeah, this is another one of my favorites. It's easy to explain. Luke, I'm your father. He never said that, but because when you're making the reference in TV shows, you can't just say I'm your father. You have to say Luke. So they changed it, for all the reference, and it gets stuck in people's mind. But then there's ones like mirror, mirror on the wall. It's always apparently been magic mirror on the wall. Is this just
bullshit?
No way.
I'm calling bullshit because it was mirror, mirror on the wall. I watched this movie as a kid. It was never magic mirror, and then at some point, it changed.
I agree. I've never heard like the magic mirror. It doesn't have the same flow. Doesn't have the same vibe. When you're writing a script, this was the very first full-length feature animated film. Like you would think that if any
part of the thing with this is that mirror, mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest one of all? That actually sounds like an incantation. Like she's summoning something. Just saying, hey, magic mirror, who's the best? Like, I mean, that doesn't fit. It doesn't work in the story. It was part of that incantation, that summoning of the mirror, mirror, mirror on the wall. Like,
I definitely don't remember this. I always remember mirror, mirror, but just for argument's sake, Snow White has been a story that's been told a million times before Disney touched it.
True.
So mirror, mirror might have been already embedded in the cultural zeitgeist before Disney even picked Snow White. So, but no, as a kid, of course, I remember mirror, mirror on the wall. And apparently so does Snoop Dogg in the song Lottie Dottie.
Mirror, mirror, magic mirror.
I remember mirror, mirror, but I can also see like how kids could like not hear magic properly, and without subtitles on old VHS tapes and stuff, that I could see where the confusion could happen.
Well, this is even before VHS tapes because this was like 44 or something, or 38. Oscar Mayer or Oscar Mayer?
I always think it was Oscar Mayer.
It's Mayer, but I remember Mayer.
No, even the song said Mayer.
Wait. So, Cindy, you remember Mayer?
Yeah.
I remember.
No, Mayer. Oscar Mayer. Yeah.
Mayer.
But I'm from the Midwest, so they could have been saying both.
That's true. This could be a case of accents ended up merging over, with the prominence of the internet. We do know that certain dialects have like fallen out because of the rise of the internet and mass communication. So this could actually be a case where it was said differently in different places. The question is, what do you remember it being spelled on the package?
Yeah.
Now,
just like that guitar player, John Mayer.
This is what I'm not actually familiar with. The location of New Zealand. If you look at the map, you'll see that southeast of the country. However, there's a community of people who remember New Zealand being northeast instead of southeast. So they'd remember it like up here.
I actually thought it was northeast.
I did too.
Really? See, I've always thought southeast.
I thought it was northeast. I remember watching.
Whoa! So I'm the odd one out here.
Yeah, I remember watching a documentary on how they made the Lord of the Rings movies, and I was like, "Oh, it's just north of Australia." I didn't know that, but they could have just been showing it at a different angle, I guess. But
that's what. Wow. I always remember it being in the northeast of Australia, and the first time that I saw that it was on the southeast, I thought the map was wrong. I was just like, no, that's not where New Zealand's at.
Paul in the chat says you remember southeast as well. So okay, this is an interesting one.
That kind of gave me the chills. How fun.
Wait, what? It's not. So Stony Kenobi says, wait, what? It's not northeast. Holy shit. This is great. Yeah, we're gonna get to the Fruit of the Loom logo. Absolutely. I'm sure it's on this list. And if not, we'll talk about it. Obviously, we already covered Berenstain Bears. Everyone remembers Berenstain.
What? No, I remember it spelled as bear.
What? What do you mean?
The name, their last name was spelt as Bear, Bear.
Yeah. That's what I thought I remembered too. And
See,
then
I don't
EMI
remember
were
that one.
different
I
as
just
well.
remember Baron Stein over Stain.
No,
Oh.
I always thought it was BEAR because that's what I remember the books looking like.
I remember BEAREN.
Yeah,
Baron.
Yeah.
Stein. Yeah.
that's
so
wild.
weird. Shazam starring Sinbad. Now
I remember this movie.
I do too.
Everyone
Okay,
says
but
that
it
this
wasn't
is
called
the movie
Shazam.
Shazam with
Yeah, it was called Sinbad.
no.
Or no, it wasn't. What was it called?
No,
It was-
that's the way they explain this. Is with there was also a movie starring
Shaq.
was it Shaq
Shaquille
called Kazam. I
Kazam,
never saw
yes.
that movie as a kid, so this one I have no memory of either way.
I didn't see the one with Shaquille, or well, I might have seen part of the one with Shaquille O'Neal. But the only reason I, as a kid, knew who Sinbad was because of this movie. I
Yeah.
did not know who Sinbad was otherwise. I don't know anything else Sinbad has done besides that he's a stand-up comedian. But I remember him from the movie Shazam.
Okay. I saw Kazam in theaters with my grandma. I also remember renting a movie. Now it could have been like they used to do this with VHSs where if it was the show, they would take 2 episodes and then stack them both and make it like an hour-long feature. Something equivocal to that with Sinbad in it where he's got a headdress on and he plays a genie. I remember that specifically.
I can remember like specific scenes from the movie with Sinbad. And I feel like I remember the cover and what this felt like to me once I like learned about the Shaquille O'Neal one. It was like, oh, this was kind of around the time that they started with like 2 movies that are very similar, right? Like say White House
wasn't
Down
the
and
Hollywood
Olympus
did
Has
for a
Fallen.
while. You had like
Yes.
Madagascar and that like Escape from the Zoo or whatever. You had Ants, you had A Bug's Life. Like that was a common thing at one point in Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought that was maybe this situation. And then even Sinbad starts telling me Shazam didn't ever exist. And I'm like, I watched that as a kid.
That can't be. Yeah, because I didn't watch it, but I remember it, and I thought, well, hey, that's pretty clever because everybody really liked him. But I remember it. Sorry, no.
Yeah, I'm out on this one because I didn't know about either of them until learning about the Mandela Effect. Yeah, Dante's Peak and Volcano. That was another one. The Core and Deep Impact. Now this one, Pikachu 100% a black tip tail when we were kids.
Absolutely.
Bro, Pikachu had a black tip tail in the fucking 90s. I'm going to fuck when he went there. It matches his ears.
Yep.
Yeah, in the game, for sure.
I remember I even drew it that way. And then when I went to go look at a reference picture, I didn't see it. So I was really confused, but I changed it.
So, yeah, Jake Martin, black tip tail, yes. Not even a Pokemon fan, but I remember the black tip. See?
Oh, wow.
Like, that's a Mickey Mouse suspenders. This shows him without suspenders. I don't recall Steamboat Willie ever having suspenders, but maybe he did.
I have a theory on this. It's because of the psychology. He's got the 2 buttons, so I feel like a lot of people imagine the suspenders there.
Their mind just fills in the blanks. What about you guys? Do you remember suspenders or no suspenders?
I don't know if I remember suspenders ever being a thing. Like this one, I'm kind of out on because I don't. It's just kind of a gray area for me.
I don't think
This
so.
is true. Paul is a huge Pokemon fan, by the way, and he remembers the black tip tail. So anyway, continue, Cindy.
My grandmother did a lot of art with Steamboat Willie on it, and she never once put suspenders on it. So, and she was pretty good at her Disney stuff.
See, Seabrew brings up a good point. He says, I had a doll with suspenders. That's another thing. A lot, toys or unofficial recreations, things like that can also, if people had those, could trigger memories. So, like, if there were some toys that were manufactured with suspenders, maybe the official release show didn't, but the toys did.
Yeah.
That's, a possibility.
Was it officially licensed by Disney, Seabrew?
No, there was also Mortimer Mouse. He did have suspenders and long pants.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so that could be just people cross-referencing. Interesting. Sally Field's famous Oscar speech, she never says you like me, you really like me.
I don't know this one.
You don't know. I mean, it's been parodied in all sorts of other media, like the Mask with Jim Carrey.
Yeah, I was
like,
just gonna
he's,
say that's the only
you
thing.
love me or you like me, you really like me, and he's referencing this speech, but she never says that in the speech. She just says something along the lines of "I'm so happy you all like me" or something like that.
Interesting. I didn't know about this one.
Could it be
Yeah,
that
here it is. Oh, sorry, go on.
that Jim Carrey was just referencing it and making it sound like what she did, and that's just what everybody remembers?
Well, I mean, but it's not just Jim Carrey. It's been parodied over and over. It's just
Yeah.
the Mask is the easy one to go to. But yeah, when Sally Field won an Oscar in 1985, her acceptance speech included the oft-repeated, oft-parodied line, "You like me, you really like me." Except what she actually said was, "I can't deny the fact that you like me right now. You like me." There, yeah, I can't deny the fact that you like me right now. You like me. That's what it is. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then this goes on to mention the Mask.
Like I'm saying, could it have been like a paraphrasing moment for somebody and they found it funny, so they kept using it?
That's entirely possible. Like when Tommy Boy says, "I'm your father, Jim." I'm your father. Jim could have changed it. Now, Looney Tunes. I do always remember it being Tunes, Tunes.
So do I.
Because
Yeah.
it goes along with the movie or the music. Because at the time, music was always in time with like the animations and things of that effect. So it was
Well,
Looney.
and it also stemmed from an animation thing called Merry Melodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So
didn't know that.
Yeah, so it would make sense that they would be called tunes. I don't think we really started getting the OO tunes until like the 90s with like Tiny Tunes and things.
Yeah,
like that.
and that one was TOONS, but
Yes,
because it was a play off of cartoons. Because at that point, it wasn't called an animated film; we were calling it cartoons.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah,
that
and
was
then
when history
Looney
changed.
Tunes, according to Piranha Palace, was a parody of Walt Disney's Silly Symphonies, so that also makes sense. So yeah, this one. So we all remember Tunes, TUNES, specifically for Looney Tunes. Then,
Yes.
okay. Now this one, Sammy and I almost were fucking arguing about backstage because I remember Jiffy. I remember
Jiffy.
I
Okay,
remember Jiff.
I remember Jiffy, and my grandmother would call it Jiff. I assumed it was because she was Filipino. Oh shit.
the only thing I can maybe come up with here is at the same time, I don't know if they're still around, but in the 90s and stuff, there was a rival peanut butter brand called Skippy. So maybe people were mixing, combining the two. That being said, I remember the font for the full word Jiffy. Like, it's not just the name of it. Like, I remember how the font looked.
I felt like it was in the it was early 2010s. I thought they just shortened the name from Jiffy to Jiff. Funny enough, how those dates line up, that it felt like I thought they just shortened the name. I didn't know that people didn't remember Jiffy being a thing, because I always remember us having it in the house.
I thought the same thing, that like Jif was just like, oh, it's a rebranding. They shortened it. Exactly. Reality Shifter, who I think is new to the channel, welcome, bud. Says, is there a way to share my Mandela Effect site with y'all? You can't share links in the chat because you're not a mod. However, if you share your link, maybe one of the mods can copy and paste it, and they'd be able to share it possibly. Because if you got a Mandela Effect site, I would love to check it out. Let's see. Curious George's Tale.
Wait, hold on. You guys don't remember the jingle? Like, Moms like you choose Jiff.
Now, I remember the jingle, but I thought that was around the time
that
that they changed it from Jiffy to Jiff. I thought that was part of the rebranding.
No, that would have been like the 90s.
And also, no, Seabrew, there is no brand called Jiffy. He's asking if there are two separate brands. There is no brand called Jiffy. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Jiffy never existed.
Jiffy Pop, which is the popcorn, Jiffy Pop, but that's not the same. So yeah, Curious George's Tale. I don't remember the tale. I absolutely remember Curious George with the tale.
I swear he had a tail.
I didn't think he had one.
I didn't think he had a tail.
Oh,
I don't remember that well.
Interesting.
I loved these books as a kid. I loved the Curious George books. Little Miss Anonymous says George didn't have a tail. Curious George didn't have a tail. Are you on Discord? Okay, so yeah, I never thought Curious George had a tail. Apparently, it's just me and you on this one, Aiden.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Okay, but Jay Martin, who's ever heard of a monkey without a tail? Fucking right. Why would you draw your monkey without a tail?
Yeah.
Let's see. Fruit Loops, FROOT.
Okay. This is technically both of them are correct. So
Oh.
in the 50s, it was Fruit Loops, and fruit was spelled correctly, and then someone sued Fruit Loops because there was no fruit in it, and then they changed it,
Oh.
and it's been like
Okay.
that since '63, I think.
Okay, that
Interesting.
one, that's a good debunk right there. Okay, here we are. One of my favorites. There was a fucking cornucopia. There was.
100%.
Absolutely was. That's the only way that I knew what a cornucopia was. Was I had to ask, what is this thing?
Yeah, I thought
That
they
was first told
removed
horror.
it recently.
No,
Yeah, I
there-
thought this was a
apparently there was
rebrand for
never
sure.
a cornucopia there. In fact, someone recently, and I should have fucking fact checked it. It was like 6 months, a year ago. Point is, we weren't doing the show yet at the time. Someone shared a picture of their T-shirt, and it had the cornucopia on the tag, and they're like, "I told you there was a cornucopia there." So like something's going on. There was definitely cornucopia. There was a cornucopia. I will
That's
let
the
reality
only
check
reason
them
I
figure that
even
out.
modern day know the word
Yeah.
cornucopia.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, whenever it would pop up around like a Thanksgiving holiday or something like that, people would call it the horn of plenty.
Yes, 100%.
And then in this logo, though, it was always that's the cornucopia. I have never in my life had somebody casually bring up the term cornucopia.
Right? The only time I can ever think of it being used, and I don't know why this line struck me. In an episode of Kim Possible, Ron Stoppable has a line where he says, "It's a cornucopia of disturbing concepts." But I already knew what a cornucopia was. Why?
Right.
Because of this fucking logo.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. It was 100% there.
It was totally there.
Like I have no doubt.
C-3PO's silver leg. It was always silver. Does anybody remember him having a gold? Because he always has silver leg for me.
Yeah, he always had a silver leg.
Yeah, silver leg.
Play it again, Sam, or not. Casablanca is one of those famous films of all time, and while many decades later, more people have not seen it. What is nonetheless known as familiar, the famous line, "Play it again, Sam." Unfortunately, if you're familiar with the line, you may be confused to learn that it was never actually said in the exact way in the film. Ingrid Bergman's character does, however, say, "Play it once, Sam." Adding the confusion, maybe the Woody Allen made film in 1972 called "Play It Again, Sam," about a critic obsessed with Casablanca. So that one's
makes
pretty.
sense.
Yeah, that one makes sense. You
James
agree?
Bond says it too when he drops a piano on somebody. I can't remember which movie.
It's a beautiful day. Oh yeah,
In the neighborhood.
in
The
the or
neighborhood,
in this, yeah. I always thought isn't even the recent movie called "A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood"? The
thought so.
biopic about
that I don't
Mr.
know.
Rogers.
That I
Yeah,
don't
in
know,
the
but I
neighborhood.
do definitively remember him saying "in the neighborhood" in
Yeah,
this
in
song,
the
not
neighborhood,
in
for
this.
sure.
neighborhood.
I do remember him saying this, but it wasn't until like the second or third time he says it in the song.
Oh, okay. But here's another thing too. He sang it every single episode. It's like, so I had one. Someone was trying to tell me the other day that in the end of the 1960s Batman television show, they never said "same bat time, same bat channel," and I was like, "You're talking to the wrong guy." I own every single episode. They don't say it every episode. They sometimes would just say "same time, same channel," but there were certain episodes where they would say "same bat time, same bat channel." So much so that at the end of Cavecast, just to end the argument, I put it in just so someone could see that there's evidence of it being there. There might have been a couple times where Mr. Rogers said that it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. Like, he was doing it live every single time.
Yeah, that's true.
Hostman's Lounge said no one's going to believe that Mandela is dead when he actually croaks. Well, he did die. That's
did.
why the Mandela Effect happened.
He died-
Because he died in
2015.
2013, and everybody's like, "The fuck you mean he just died? He was dead in the 80s." Like, that's how the Mandela Effect started. Was when he did die, people thought he was already dead. So yeah, just throwing that one out there. But I appreciate that. Thank you for being a member for all that time. I think it said 3 months, right? 4 months. Thank you for being a member for 4 months, Hostman. Truly appreciate you. I don't remember a Monopoly guy with a monocle. I don't.
No.
I think maybe people confuse with Mr. Peanut, who does have a monocle. or he actually did have one in an alternate universe. But I don't know. What do you guys remember? Monocle or no monocle?
I thought he had one. I thought he had one for the longest time, and I don't know. I thought that was part of his attire, part of his outfit. He was a scholarly gentleman, and he had his monocle and his top hat, and like finding out that he apparently never had that was one of those moments that like it really hit me, and I was like, wait, what? What do you mean? What do you mean he never had one? Because I could have swore I remembered it.
Well, Phone Collecting says he has one on the when he's coming down the stairs, like on the cards, like the community treasures and things like that. When he's coming down the stairs, he says he has one. Stony Kenobi says monocle, yes. He had one in the Netherlands edition. Interesting. I don't remember Monopoly Man having a monocle. Not when he was being used as a puppet. Huh.
I don't remember Moneybags having a monocle.
But yeah, so those are the famous Mandela effects.
Or Pennybags, that's his name.
I have one more that I never see on any list anywhere. I've brought this up to my dad. I've brought this up to other fans of the TV show Friends. I hate the TV show Friends, but I used to love it like everybody else did. And there's one episode of Friends, I believe it's in season 2, where they're standing in Joey and Chandler's apartment, and they're eating pizza. And they're standing around the countertop eating pizza. I distinctly remember that being in a pizzeria, and they're standing on one of those tall standing only tables. I remember the zoom in camera shot zooms in through the pizzeria window to them eating pizza. It's like how the episode starts, and like it's just Ross, Chandler, and Joey, talking shit or whatnot. Why? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me where this came from. I asked my dad, who was a big Friends fan. Well, actually, I asked him in lieu of asking my mom because we want to talk. She was actually a big Friends fan. He remembered it the same way. He's like, yeah, no, I remember being at a pizza place. But I don't ever see that one on any list. I imagine people just don't give a fuck about Friends, as they shouldn't. But yeah, that's like my own personal Mandela effect. Is like I know they were in a fucking pizzeria, and when you and now maybe when it aired on TV, they were in a pizzeria, and like the DVD release shows an alternatively shot scene where they're in the house. Yeah. That could be the explanation, But that is also, that could lean a little bit into the alternate realities, right? Because how difficult would it be for one reality to say, okay, we're going to take this shot versus the other reality say, no, they took this shot. Like it's little subtle things like that those are the things that really make you think about it and go, okay, so how different would that have been? And ultimately, nothing changed.
There's that theory for every coin flip, there's an alternate universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and now we're gonna actually go ahead and get into the science of it right here. So let's go ahead and make this bigger for y'all so you can see it watching. And big and big and big and there we go. To find the answers to the Mandela Effect, we must travel back to 2012 and the discovery of the Higgs boson particle, also known as the God particle. In a preface to his book, Starmus, Stephen Hawking explained the discovery of the God particle could alter time and reality as we know it. This could mean the universe could undergo catastrophic vacuum decay with a bubble and true vacuum expanding at the speed of light. This could happen at any time we wouldn't see it coming. Now, to preface this, hey, Corn Boy, coming in hot with that $1.99. Thumbs up, Corn Boy. Thank you so much. You truly didn't need to. You did. And you know what? This is for you, buddy.
I'd fuck one of the robot dogs.
I'm sure there's an alternate universe where Erwin has done that. Yeah, I remember being in astronomy class in like 2009, 2010. And my astronomy teacher was telling us about the Higgs boson particle. And it hadn't been discovered yet. He's like, we can see its effects on everything. We've not found it. We've not located it. Every time we try, it acts as if it's a sentient being. You think you locate it, you go to study it, it's gone. So you could see the effects of the Higgs boson, but like it was never found. And then, so I remember it being a huge deal when it was finally actually verified. Like, holy fuck, we found the God particle, the particle that gives all other particles their mass. Like this was like scientific groundbreaking discovery. Front page news. Did you guys remember that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. It was huge news because we at the time felt like it was such a massive break in science that everything was going to start changing rapidly and exponentially. And well, it didn't exactly work out that way, but hey, it was still
or it did, and we don't know it.
Yeah.
In 2012, CERN, or Conseil Europe pour la Recherche Nucléaire,
Oh my God.
the European Council for Nuclear Research, discovered the very particle, the Higgs boson particle. For those unaware, CERN has been at the center of many reality-altering controversies as their high-security, small public interaction and their consistent use of such instruments as the Hadron Collider to manipulate atomic structures and molecular-grade research levels. Research leads the rest of us to wonder what really goes on behind CERN walls. Now, before we go further, does anyone have any questions, comments, anything they want to say about CERN? Do you have thoughts? Do you follow their work, things like that?
Yeah. So CERN is one of those things that, like the article just said, they're extremely secretive about what they're doing. And basically, some of the first news that we started getting about CERN was that they had built a particle accelerator that was several miles in circumference, and that they were going to smash two particles together, and there was an above 0% chance that they could instantly create a black hole, and it was
Stephen Hawking was actually highly against it because of that.
Yeah.
Like Stephen Hawking was like, "You guys are going to make a black hole. You're going to kill us." Sorry. Like, yes,
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking was very against CERN.
Well, and every time they've turned it on since, you still have, and I mean, I count myself among these people. As soon as I hear that they're about to turn the Large Hadron Collider on, I go, oh shit, things are about to get weird. Because I remember in 2012, it was shortly after they turned it on, was when that was the point in the United States, if you lived here, right, that we started noticing a bunch of the political stuff coming into play that was
I had the
completely different
same
from
thought
normal.
when I was doing my research on this. I was like, wait, all this political stuff, like being so overt and out in the open, was right after the first time CERN was activated. I made that same connection today.
Yep. That's something that I've been harping on for a very long time. It was during Obama's presidency. And that's where it suddenly felt like, you know, racial tensions started escalating, and you started really noticing these like ideologies being prevalent in every aspect of life. And that's where it felt like people won't shut up about politics. That was the first time I remember really feeling that. And I was somebody who was following politics since like 2001. Very close.
Yeah, 9/11, as young as I was, I didn't understand it, but 9/11 got me. You and I have talked about this, I think, on my show, Neon Leon, that like that got me interested in politics and was following it. Again, I was young and didn't understand it, but the interest was there. I kept following it from then on. So yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, there just didn't seem to be that vitriol against, you know, side versus side until after CERN turned on the Large Hadron Collider. That's when everything just started to feel strange.
Oh, they turned it on. Suddenly there were 200 genders. All right. So, Sammy, anything to add, or we continue with the next paragraph?
No, I mean, awesome.
All right. Works for me. With the CERN discovery of the Higgs boson in 2012, along with their track record of atomic experimentation, it's unrealistic to believe that Stephen Hawking, the man credited by many as the smartest mind of our time, foresaw exactly what would happen. If CERN began experimentation with Higgs boson, is unrealistic to believe. This may have actually warped us into a mirror or multiversal dimension, as theorized by Hawking. In addition to the scientific aspect alone, as many remember, 2012 was deemed to be the end of the world by many based upon the abrupt ending of the Mayan calendar. Now, this one's very easy to dismiss, by the way. The Mayan calendar didn't account for leap years, so actually it should have ended in like 92 or something, like if you crunch the numbers, right? If you count all like the compounded leap days.
Well, there's also the theory behind the Mayan calendar. That might have actually just been the point that it restarted, just like we do for every year, right? Like we just repeat. Well, they weren't just going to make a calendar that went on forever. So they eventually found a stopping point and was like, okay, yeah, now it just repeats from this point. Like it's kind of,
I hadn't heard that. Yeah, that also makes perfect sense. I've never heard that one. The Mayans had to come out and say nothing was going to happen when people were freaking out. Is it possible the Mayans then were correct in their timeline? Was 2012 actually about to bring us the end of Earth as we know it? Or more importantly, was it credible enough, an argument for CERN, to deem it reason enough to begin experimentation with the Higgs boson particle? Now, this paragraph is talking about, you know, the slipping of either one dimension, multi dimensions, whatnot. Now, back to my astronomy teacher, he told me something I've never forgotten it. Now, again, he's just fucking high school. Well, he was also a college level astronomy teacher, but he taught both. But he told me that his theory, his belief of what deja vu was. So just like how when CERN was turned on, the universes collided. That's what Hayden's theory is. His theory, and this is of course prior to 2012, so there hadn't been any universal collisions yet, is that his theory was deja vu is when two universes don't collide but briefly overlap, and so you get deja vu because you're actually remembering what other universe you has already experienced.
Yeah, something like I think I would just to clarify, not necessarily different universe but different timeline, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
like
different timeline.
Different timelines. So your 65-year-old you has already experienced what 25-year-old you's experiencing, and you get that feeling of I've done this before because there's that momentary lapse where the two times converge, and you just have that one moment of memory from a different timeline's version.
So based on I had never considered anything like that before. When he told me that in 10th grade, 11th, I think I was in 10th grade at the time, maybe 11th grade, whatever. It blew my fucking mind, and then it got me thinking about all the times I've dreamed about shit and then it's happened. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, I've got psychic powers or whatnot because because that's a really common thing. People dream about something that happens. But I started thinking what if when you dream, your consciousness can slip in and out of other timelines, other realities, things of that effect. So that's why you just like, oh man, I dreamed about this. This has already happened. Well, it's because during sleep you've got your third eye, your pineal gland is releasing DMT. Your consciousness slips into another timeline, and bingo, bango, bongo, you wake up, something happens 2, 3, 4 days later. It's because it's already happened when you slipped into that timeline in your sleep. Yeah. That's, again, purely my own theory. I don't know, but it's that's what his deja vu thing got me thinking.
Yeah, no, and I've got a somewhat similar theory because I've kind of, was introduced in the same way. It was like, no, deja vu is another version of yourself has already lived through these events, and there's a moment where your memories your brain basically touches and you actually get to remember the thing that you haven't done yet. So I'm right there with you on the deja vu thing and the timelines intersecting, and I'm right there. That's totally possible.
Sammy, do you have theories on this? Is this do you think is that explainable deja vu? Do you have other thoughts? Where are you sitting with it?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of in between where both of you are. I've always kind of believed in kind of like a collective conscious of self, and so it would make sense. So if you're someplace close on the timeline, you might be able to actually retract information from different versions of yourself. I'm still reeling over the the political change in 2012, and I was like, oh, did we accidentally knock ourselves into a more chaotic universe?
That's actually really, because if we were to break that down, the world quote unquote ended in 2012. Now there's people and I didn't know you, Sammy, I didn't know you, Hayden, but I did know my dad. I did know my best friends growing up. That would mean my dad now was not my dad. It's not the same person that was my dad in 2010. Or maybe he was because we both came over to this timeline together. I mean, there's not a way to know.
Nope, there's no way to know.
Mind blowing. These people you've known for years, it might not be the same person that you knew, and you don't know.
And they would still be, for the most part, the same personality. They'd still be the same person. But the fact that they lived in a different reality than you did is always a possibility if there were two realities that merged together, right? So they might have.
Now, do you think it's only two, or do you think that there is
I think it could have been multiple.
Okay.
I think it could have been because they fired up the Large Hadron Collider, right? And there was the chance of them actually hitting something just the wrong way or whatever and creating a black hole and our universe being swallowed up immediately without any of us noticing, right? Because it would have been an instantaneous death for all of us. But what if whenever they did that, instead they created divergence of a timeline, or multiple all hit at that same point, because that happened to be the same time that in all of them they turned on the Large Hadron Collider, the God particle was discovered, and that's the like center point that brought everything together, merged everything, and some survived, some were absorbed. Well, I mean, we'll never know.
Did you ever see the anime Steins Gate?
No, my girlfriend and I were talking about that today, and
you should watch. If you're into this,
because
you
should really like
Steins
Gate.
It's literally one of my top 10 favorite anime of all time. You should watch Steins Gate. I'm not gonna give away too terribly much, but there's a really good example of this in the show where like there's a femboy character. There's a femboy character who like he believes he should be a girl. He believes he's born in the wrong body. He wears dresses the whole nine, but he's still a boy. He acknowledges he's a boy. And at one point, they go into the alternate timeline because it's all about time travel and whatnot. And this character is a girl. And the main character, Okabe, he's like, no, you're a boy. Like, I've known you my whole fucking life. And like he goes to grab where his dick is to prove it. It's like, oh my god, there's a vagina there. But like in this universe, it aligned properly to where the mentality of this character is in the body things should have. And like there's a bunch of shit like that throughout the show. I don't want to spoil anymore, but like that's a good example of like just a subtle change. This one character's fucking gender is different. And in the timeline that's the main timeline you follow, their mind seems like they should be in a female body, but it's not. It's male. And so like that's like the timeline correcting sort of thing. It's really fucking cool. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Also, we got a $5 banger coming here from Dokuman. CERN is trying to open portals to other worlds, Stargate style. What happens when hell or Cthulhu dimensions are opened up and we can't close it? I will give thoughts on. I'll allow the panel to give thoughts on this for a moment. But first, thank you so much. You didn't need to, you did. It means the absolute world to me. Let's give you. You know what? You're talking about like portals to other worlds and shit. That's some doom shit. So you get this clip. There it is. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that super chat, which I shouldn't have closed out if I was gonna have you guys talk about it. Give me one moment here. There it is. Yeah, CERN opening portals to other worlds. Do you think it's just multiverses that are somewhat similar to us, or are there fully drastically different universes, dimensions, the whole nine?
Yeah, I you and I have talked about this plenty of times. We're pretty sure heaven and hell are other dimensions. So
I believe that.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite lines. Don't fuck with the infinite. Because yeah, I definitely believe that's a possibility.
Yeah.
What about you, Hayden?
I think that there are universes or different timelines, different dimensions that are completely out of our understanding, like just incomprehensible to us, and that they do run parallel with us. And I do think occasionally those things will collide. And now if one is very similar to us and running parallel and there is a collision, that's when you get stuff like this, like the Mandela Effect, things like that. Whereas whenever you have a completely separate type of reality that bumps up with ours, that's where you get those weird experiences that happen, those unexplainable things that, you can't say if it was a ghost or if it was your mind playing tricks on you or one of those things. Maybe that's where a completely separate area of reality that we just can't quite understand has merged with ours for just a moment and then separated again.
You literally, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that, when people have these demonic experiences or these supernatural experiences, like I believe that 99% can be naturally explained, but there's that 1% that can't. And when you've got that 1% that can't, it's called supernatural for a reason. It's not, natural to Earth, and there's got to be some sort of catalyst. And again, I mean, when you die and go to heaven, like you don't just go into the fucking sky. We've been to space. Heaven's not there. Like you're going, at least in my opinion, your soul is going to a different dimension. There's probably multiples of these, and aka the fourth dimension. Well, the fourth dimension is time, so it would actually be the fifth dimension.
Actually, I always thought that heaven was just north of Australia. And,
well, no, we just found out New Zealand is in the south. New Zealand's in the south actually. So can be easily explained naturally. They call it marriage. Soul recycling. I don't know if I believe in soul recycling or not, but I'm very excited to find out after I live a long, happy life here. And by long, happy, I mean until about 55 when I blow my brains out in front of a fucking Wendy's. In theory, if this were to be true, CERN's experimentation with the Higgs boson warped our reality, sending us into an alternate timeline and or dimension. These so-called residuals of the Mandela Effect, i.e., Sex in the City, mentions C3, Sex in the City, C3PO images without his silver leg, TV guys listing Betterstein. I don't know that
So
one.
that's the one that Cindy and I remember. Bear.
Oh, okay.
But I remember there being an in there as well. Bernstein.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Actually be correct for the timeline we came from, but not just correct for the rest of the universe in this current timeline. As we know it, in just 12 months' time, Mandela Effect would come to be. But was this just the first time since 2012 a widely known public figure brought attention to these inconsistencies en masse? Perhaps in 2012 you noticed the changed spelling of Febreze from Febreze. I did not notice that.
I noticed that because I thought it was Febreze, not Febreze.
Oh, I always thought it was Febreze.
Yeah, I always thought it was Febreze, not Febreze. Yeah, I never knew there was an R.
And I thought there were two E's.
Either wrote it off as rebranding, or you yourself never read the product correctly, when in actuality, you've been affected by the Mandela Effect prior to 2013 death of Mandela himself. In addition to theorizing, a Reddit user claimed to be a CERN scientist, claimed to have created the Mandela Effect after experimentation with Higgs boson in 2012. While we have to take this account with a grain of salt as to whether or not his credentials are accurate, there's certainly some credible questions to be asked. A more detailed explanation of this theory, linking 2012, CERN, and the creation of the Mandela Effect, can be heard during a live radio broadcast of the Rebel Radio Show on CBW Radio from Monday, October 23rd, 2023. The episode breaks down the end of the world, as we've been told through the years, before diving into the theory in detail, pinning the Mandela Effect on 2012, as well as accounts of time travel researchers. CERN practices to be questioned. CERN practices to be questioned, and the explanation of accelerated time passage. I don't know about time travel researchers. I mean, I would love for shit like that to be real, but obviously, okay, when I say obviously there are people who are working on it, the scientists, things to that effect. But is there any progress? Is it possible? Like for example, we know you can move forward in time, but you can't move backward. There are things to that effect. So I want shit like that to be real, but I don't know that it can be unless CERN has. By all means, open the floor, go for it.
Well, and that's kind of what the article and myself were both saying earlier, is that CERN is so secretive about what it is that they're doing. We only get news from them whenever they're ready for us to hear it. And we don't know what that news is ever going to be. And a lot of the time, it seems like, okay, they did cool thing, whatever. What does that really change? Who knows? But we don't know that CERN wouldn't have like massive research happening with time travel, right? I mean, they discovered this particle that is the building block of everything. They have to be really deep into looking into things if they get that far and they actually discovered the Higgs boson. So I don't know. They're secretive, and there's always a chance that, well, it's always a fact that they know more than we do.
Yeah, I think we actually briefly referenced this in a different episode of TFH, Charlie Nuclear, that CERN has a statue of Shiva, the Hindu deity, specifically depicted as Nataraja, the Lord of the Dance. Yeah, I believe we've touched on that and said that we would get to an episode about CERN. And we'll probably dive into CERN as a concept even further in a different episode, because this is a kind of a combo with the CERN and the Mandela Effect, but it depends on how much is in these articles. That is the end of this one. Now, this article was from, if I remember right, when was this one from? Let's zoom out here. Okay, so this was from October 28th, 2023. But these articles go back a while. So this one's from 2024. This one's from 1 day ago. There's an article on this from a day ago. The Mandela Effect might be a glitch, and CERN could be the hacker. Did I mute?
No, you're good.
Okay, StreamYard popped up saying that my microphone had come out. So
No, you
okay.
good.
Inside the eerie theory that CERN's collider cracked reality, triggered the Mandela Effect, and shoved us into an alternate timeline we've never meant to be in. Did CERN open a portal and ruin reality? Again, this article is from yesterday. Like,
That's wild.
I wasn't even
actually.
looking for. I was like, all right, let's see what articles we can find, bring up for the show. Have you ever sworn? Okay, so we know all about that. The phenomenon known as Mandela Effect has haunted the internet forums, Reddit threads, conspiracy TikToks for over a decade. But here's the twist: what if they aren't just misremembered facts? What if something bigger happens, something bent reality at the seams? Center of the rabbit hole. By the way, how many of y'all knew that the Large Hadron Collider was 17 miles? 17 miles. That is fucking bananas. Let's see. I don't know if it's. Oh wait, hold on. Here's a picture of an old man. I need to find again. Oh, there's a picture of an old man I need to find again who's sitting in a diner in 2016 with a hat that said "For elections, go vote." The hat had red on it. Don't know if it was real though. Oh, that's interesting. I've never seen that. Microphone came out as gay. Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah, I definitely need to get a better mic. Yeah, 17 miles. If I recall, there's a second loop nearby. I think I've heard that as well. Hopefully the article will contend with that. GNA need another glitch or control delete twice. Its name is CERN. Its job smashing atoms to uncover the secrets of the universe. Its alleged side gig, accidentally opening a portal to an alternate dimension and shifting all of us into a slightly off version of reality. This is your warning. From here, things get weird. I don't know if you were listening or not, Hayden, because I know you had to step away. This
I was listening.
Okay, gotcha. To understand why the internet suspects a science facility and a timeline tampering, we need to walk into the belly of the beast CERN, aka the European Organization for Nuclear Research, home to the Large Hadron Collider, which we've already talked about. 17-mile circular underground racetrack where protons are slammed together at nearly the speed of light to study the building blocks of the universe. Sounds cool, right? All right, 2012, the God particle, we got that. So this is a much longer article, so I'm trying to get to the parts that we haven't covered. Shortly after the internet being the internet, needed someone to blame. All right, CERN's cold scientific walls were the perfect target. There are whispers of the smashing particles that the scale might have ripped a hole in space-time, or at the very least shifted us into slightly alternate loop universe, a few decimal points off, a glitch, a cosmic oops. And it doesn't help that CERN's vibe is unsettling. A statue of Shiva the Destroyer, a Hindu god, stands dramatically outside the facility. In 2016, a weird video leaked showing people in cloaks performing a mock ritual near the statue. CERN called it a prank. The internet called it a warning. Do you guys remember this video? Because I do. This freaked the fuck out of me.
I don't know if I remember seeing this. I think I remember hearing about it, but I don't think I saw
it's
a
on
video.
YouTube. Oh, wrong thing.
So between all the cults and the various different places like Bohemian Groves and stuff like that, I tend to get my cult showing up to worship somewhere a little bit confused. So,
oh, I'm not finding it on YouTube. Big shock. If it was just a prank, why isn't it on YouTube? Because I remember seeing this. Let's see if I can Google for it. CERN cloak prank. CERN ritual hoax. Well, I mean, CERN admitted they did it, but they just did it as a prank. Here we go. Okay, here's an article from The Guardian that might have the footage. Yeah, all right, let's share this tab.
Oh, I remember this video now.
Yeah, a bunch of dudes in cloaks gathering outside this Shiva statue.
I don't think I ever saw this. Like I said, I think I remember hearing about it, but I don't think I ever actually saw it.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's 100% real. CERN admits they did it, but they claim it was a prank. I don't know, man.
Why would you set up a prank whenever you're already under public scrutiny and people are going, what the hell are you doing there? We're worried about every time you tell us that you're going to turn on this massive machine that you have. We're constantly worried. Why are you going to pull some little prank and be like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we all dressed up in cloaks and just pretended that we were doing some kind of ritual? That definitely won't catch us any heat like we're already getting from the entire fucking world. Yeah, I don't know.
This
I don't
dude's
buy it.
reaction seems pretty... Oh, sorry, go for it, Sammy.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say, and by the way, like dressing up in cloaks and potentially causing a black hole to instantly end the universe sounds pretty death culty to me. And then just for them to go, just joshing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I buy that. Yeah, because yeah, you just like you said, that guy's reaction doesn't look like he well obviously if it was a prank, this guy wasn't in on it because he looks like he
Right,
sees the shit
like-
turns tail.
Again, he freaks the fuck out when they see him.
Yeah, no, there's something fishy about this. And, I mean, what's the explanation for having Shiva the Destroyer, like, in front of your building? Like, what please explain that one to me.
Yeah,
we really like the god. It's also the god of something else in Hindu. Yeah, okay, all right, sure, buddy.
We always read the Necronomicon before we turn it on. It's just a good luck thing,
Listen, whenever somebody dies, they tell us they want us to bind the book in their flesh. We're not harvesting people at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. All right.
That's actually fun
Look,
as
it's in
fuck.
his last will and testament. He signed it.
Yeah.
Yes, their logo low key looks like 666. Coincidence, sure, but try telling that to a Reddit at 2 a.m. Oh no, man. I can
Fuck
look
Reddit,
past
man.
a lot
I grew
of
up on
one-off.
4chan.
Once you start,
Yeah.
like it was a one-off thing, sure, but there's a lot going on here. We're smashing particles together, opening portals. Motherfuckers got fucking cloaks and are praying to Shiva. Now their logo looks like 666. At some point, you got to be like, okay, maybe there's something going on. You should at least question this, like.
I am somebody who I don't necessarily believe in coincidence. Like, sure, there are things that can coincidentally happen, but especially whenever you get into a situation like this, where you have so many things that, oh yeah, this was a prank. Oh yeah, this looks like 666. Oh yeah, we're doing this. We're doing that. Oh, we're also being super secretive about stuff. Eventually you have to go, all right, something doesn't feel right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like, look, I'm sure these scientists have a good sense of humor and whatnot. You gotta have a good sense of humor if you're gonna be working in such cold, sterile environments all day. But whose idea of a prank is let's do a fake ritual at 2 a.m. in a super secretive base?
Well,
Like,
hang on.
And how many people go along with it?
Yeah, right.
Okay,
But to
I've
take it even a
met
step
some like
further-
scientist types. Some of them could be pretty staunchy. Where like, yeah, that sounds stupid. I have to get up and work with a particle collider tomorrow. I don't think I'm gonna dance in front of a statue at 2 a.m. just
Uh-huh.
because it'll be funny.
But take it even further. Where was the joke of, hey, I know we're building this big facility. It's costing several billions of dollars. You know what would be really funny? If we spend another couple $1,000 just to put a statue of Shiva the Destroyer out front, because it'll make people freak out. Oh, it'll be great. What?
Man,
No.
I come back to some wild stuff.
Oh, yeah, we're
Although,
getting-
like,
we're
what if
getting
it
to
was
the good
just
shit.
like, what if it's just like some joke that only like science geniuses get, where all of a sudden like Stephen Hawking's like, you got me, you got me.
One user posted, what if CERN didn't break reality? What if they just peeled it back and let something else in? And once that question's in your head, good luck unthinking it. Are we living in a timeline glitch? There's a moment many describe as the snap, a subtle but unshakable shift. You wake up, you look around, it's almost the same, but not quite. Welcome to the glitch theory. And this is what Hayden was talking about at the beginning. The everything in 2012 just seemed to escalate as, it's a snap.
It was almost instantaneous. The vibe of it, again, at least the United States and the people living in it, it all just seemed to change right then. And this was before we had the name, the Mandela Effect, or before even most people didn't even know about CERN at that time, because they hadn't been publicly talking about a whole lot. It was the conspiracy theorists were the only people who knew that they built this 17-mile wide circular area where they were going to smash particles together. And everybody thought it sounded insane until CERN came out and said, yeah, we did this. We found the Higgs boson.
Well, and people, people ask, why is it so big? I don't think people realize as tiny as like atoms are. The nucleus of an atom, the neutrons that orbit it are like hundreds of feet from the nucleus. So you need, and if you're gonna be smashing this shit together, you need a massive location. Do we know where the funding for CERN came from? I've never actually looked into that.
I haven't actually looked into the funding either. That's something
No.
that somehow I've never really thought too much about. NGOs, I'm sure. USA.
2012, eh? Thanks, Obama. World Wide Web was created CERN in 1991. Actually, the World Wide Web goes back earlier than 1991. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, the internet does. Maybe not the World Wide Web though.
Well, yeah.
At the core of the Mandela Effect rabbit hole lies a dark suspicion. We didn't misremember things. We shifted to a different timeline, and blame again points towards CERN, specifically 2012, the year the Higgs boson was discovered. The year countless people began reporting Mandela Effect en masse online. Some believe that during CERN's high energy experience, we covered this part, the timeline forked. Here's the eerie part. Many people remember feeling it. On Reddit, there are thousands of accounts from people who describe a weird existential nausea that hit them around that time, like a collective sense of deja vu that never faded. Like waking up in a room that looks like yours, smells like yours, but isn't yours. Like, can you imagine worldwide liminality? That is terrifying.
That is. Oh my gosh.
So I vaguely remember feeling this, like this next sentence here. It's not the same. The vibe is off. Like something just felt different, and it was around 2012. It was sometime in that year. Now I can't point to, was it the day that they turned on CERN and smashed the particles together, all of that. I can't point to that, but I do remember everything just feeling weird. Like nothing felt normal all of a sudden at some point. And like I said, that's when a lot of things started escalating, and eventually that becomes the new normal, as it were. But I remember feeling like this just odd feeling, like nothing felt right back around that time.
But they've turned CERN on multiple times since, and we've also gotten multiple timeline-wise. All this stuff's been escalating. Do we think every time, like, is it possible every time they turn on, we're just escalating shit? Like, okay, 2012 was bad, but like compare it to now, 2012 is like a fucking cakewalk.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it getting worse every time they turn it on? And
that's what it feels like. I mean, because it feels like every time they do it, within like a couple of months, there's some big like world event that happens that nobody saw coming. Something just happens, or even like if you're a fan of InfoWars, Alex Jones suddenly starts getting all of these leaks of information, and he starts talking about something that's going to happen within the next year, and it's like, where did this all come from? Why is it always around turning CERN on that the big world events start happening? That's what it feels like.
That's just a coincidence. I don't know. You think about it too much, man.
Yeah,
It's just a coincidence.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just thought I was becoming increasingly more jaded over the years, but but no, I also recall things kind of really shifting and feeling weird, and maybe that's what that was.
Well, TikTok has since turned that eerie paranoia into a viral obsession. Videos like proof we switched timelines in 2012 rack up millions of views. Some creators draw timeline maps. Others point to strange Mandela examples that conveniently align with CERN's operational spikes. Even weirder, some report their dreams changed after 2012. No longer random, but whoa. I've never heard this, but I have experienced this. No longer random, but structured and reoccurring. I don't know if the timeline aligns with CERN, but as I've gotten older, my dreams have 100% become, as opposed to like, when you're young and back in the day you had dreams, and it's like, at one point I'm hanging out in the Amazon rainforest with Bigfoot, and then I blink and I'm in a fucking submarine with like my dad. Dreams are all willy-nilly and what made no sense. But like over the last several years, my dreams have had a narrative to them. Not all of them, but I've got several reoccurring dreams that do have a narrative. I didn't know that was. I've never heard about this. I just thought that was.
I haven't either. But so fun little fact. Ever since 2012, 2013-ish, I basically do everything I can to not dream, because I have like very bad nightmares. And so like I'll try to drink before I go to bed, or I'll try to take like melatonin, something that's going to put me on my ass and not let my mind like wander whenever I'm asleep, because I have really bad nightmares anytime I dream.
Interesting.
Oh,
See,
I do the same thing. Terrible nightmares.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm talking watching everybody I know and love be, gunned down in front of me, and there's nothing I can do about it, or
see, I have
just visceral, terrible things.
I have a handful, like 2 or 3 really strong nightmares a year, give or take, and it's usually the being pursued one. Like that's a very common nightmare, is being pursued, and it's not always being. Sometimes it's being pursued by a person. Sometimes it's the most recent one I had was a few months ago, and it was being pursued by the Nemesis monster from Resident Evil. Which it sounds dumb in the daylight hours, but if you're trapped in your mind, you're asleep, and that entire dream, like again, there was a narrative to it. It wasn't like. I distinctly remember, okay, I ran through this doorway and I heard him coming. So I crawled up on top of a filing cabinet, and in front of the filing cabinet, like he ran to the room, ran past me. And it's like, okay, now I'm going to duck out. I'm going to run down this fire escape. And then I ran down the fire escape. He was standing there in the alleyway. And it's like I remember the fucking pathways I took and everything. And there was no break in this narrative until I woke up, freaked the fuck out.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in general, I'm the opposite. I love dreaming. I do things like drink yarrow or mugwort tea, which is supposed to like give you lucid dreams, things to that effect. Sometimes get sleep paralysis, like dreams within dreams, things to that effect. You would think that Leon's next realistic nightmare would be Nemesis throwing him in a pool. Fuck you, Paul. Failed to quit time event. Yeah.
Did you have any nightmares after being thrown in a pool?
No, I've not had any yet that I know of. No.
Okay,
I
awesome.
lived. That was a lived nightmare. That was. Before you roll your eyes, I saw this. Why do so many people share the same false memories? I mean, dude, I think the majority of us shared the majority of these when we were
for the
going
most
through
part,
this episode. Why does it feel like the world's gotten noisier since then? And why do conspiracy threads about this always get mysteriously buried? I mean, dude, okay, this last one, I couldn't find that video footage that I pulled off that from The Guardian was not on YouTube. Why is that? If it's just a prank, bro, why is that not on YouTube?
Yeah.
They try to bury things that, and they, I'm using the royal they, like we don't know who they are, but some people in control of something somewhere, they do actively try to bury things. I mean, there was a while there, in 2020 where we saw that governments were banning people from talking about COVID, right? Like that was a thing that we all actively saw happening. There are other organizations and other groups of people that are trying to hide other things from us as well. And if it's not catching the collective attention of everyone, it's going to be swept under the rug. They can do it every time.
Oh, I mean, they just did it with Biden's health, right? Like
that's an excellent example. We know good goddamn well that he's had cancer since at least 2022. Like that's being fucking generous. The media hid that
takes
for
5
fucking
years to metastasize to your bones, the type of cancer that he has. So, and you're not going to tell me that someone prominent in politics wasn't getting
who get regular checkups by doctors, especially at his advanced age.
100%, especially a presidential candidate.
Yeah.
And you know what? That would explain. Maybe he didn't have dementia. Maybe he was on a bunch of painkillers because he had cancer. You know what I mean? Well, it was like that would.
The other thing is that even like if he did have dementia, cancer would actually explain the rapid decline that we saw in his mental acuity. Right? Because cancer affects everything. And so if he already had a little bit of dementia, like it was kind of coming in, the cancer would rapidly accelerate that. And that's
absolutely.
Because he was talking crazy in 2020, but go back to the way he was talking in 2020 versus 2024. And it's so much. He looks fucking normal by 2020 standards. Like, because I remember we were calling out his gaffes when he was running against Trump. When first I went out under pressure, like the fucking famous one, like, and the kids in the pool and they play with my legs. The corn pop was like he was talking about fucking corn pop when he was running for president.
Yep,
that seems normal compared to where he was ending.
Absolutely.
And then you got guys like Jake Tapper going, so do you always make fun of people with a stutter? And you're like, dude, that's not.
Oh, your mic went full robot, Sammy.
Oh wow. You're being
Right now.
silent, Sammy.
Oh no. No, but I'm saying it was like, they're trying to cover it up, saying it was a, that he had a stutter, or they had that all this. It was like I've met people with a stutter. I've stuttered from time to time. That's not what that was. But that's covering up conspiracy. But that was the same thing that I was telling you with like the Berenstain Bears. Is I totally believe it was one way, and they're like, oh no, it was in the Library of Congress. That doesn't mean shit to me. Okay, these people have no problem covering these things up.
They
It was
will
like
hide
I
it.
think they do shit like that so they can get away with bigger things. Okay, it was like, so if you didn't notice Berenstain Bears, what else aren't you noticing?
Yep. Oh, by the way, Cine, the Berenstain, they didn't have the N in the middle, but the BEAR spelling was earlier up in this article.
Yeah. it
Oh,
was,
really?
The
Yeah, it
spelling
was.
you guys find out that, yeah. The evidence, real, weird, or wishful. If you're reading this expecting solid proof that CERN cracked reality, you might be disappointed. But if you're here for the kind of strange coincidences that keep you up at night Googling, are we in a simulation? Oh boy, is this your section. Because something is feeding the fire. Let's start with the Shiva statue. Right outside CERN's headquarters in Geneva stands a large bronze statue of Shiva Nataraja, the Hindu god of destruction and creation, caught mid-dance. According to CERN, it was a gift from the Indian government, symbolizing the cosmic dance of matter. According to conspiracy theorists, it's a nod to ritualistic transformation, like, say, opening a portal to reboot the universe. That doesn't stop there.
I
The
love
weird-
how you could read the Indian language just fine, but you butchered the French like you've never spoken a
Bro.
European language.
I like Indians so much more than French. Like, I'm not a racist, but I am a countryist or whatever. Because fuck the French, fuck the Canadians, and especially fuck French Canadians. Like, Cajuns are kind of okay, but like, that's where I draw the line. That weird ritual video. In 2016, a creepy video surfaced online shot at night on CERN's property showing figures in black cloaks staging what looked like a sacrificial ritual in front of the Shiva statue. The internet panicked. CERN quickly responded, calling it a prank by employees, no real sacrifice, nothing weird, except how do you prank something that looks like a scene from a Lovecraft story? Theories range from harmless joke to actual cult ritual to open a quantum gateway. Guess which one TikTok picked? And then the logo that launched 1,000 Reddit threads. CERN's official logo, meant to represent the particle accelerators, has drawn different kind of attention. Some conspiracy sleuths say it resembles the 3 overlapping sixes, 666, the number of the beast. Let's go ahead and pull up a picture of their logo. One moment here.
Yeah, this is that video for anybody who, maybe just joining us just a little bit earlier. Leon went to find that video and he looked on YouTube. It wasn't there. He had to go find an article for it. So
That's
it's
pretty 666y. Not gonna lie.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Right.
Holy shit.
hard not to see.
Excuse me. Again, I guess these technically could all be coincidences, but that's a lot all at fucking once.
No, Leon. It's the shape of the particle accelerator. Like that. That's all it is. It's the circle. The lines are the hallways that people can walk down.
Yeah, the artist is being very generous with how it depicts 17 miles. That's
How?
look, I mean, what was that, Cindy?
I was like, how is that 17 miles? What?
No, the actual particle accelerator, the Hadron Collider is 17 miles.
It's
Wow.
a 17
really?
mile circle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
not
gosh.
wide, but circumference, diameter, whatever. The Mandela Effect synchronicities. Here's where it gets extra glitchy. Some researchers have noticed that surges in Mandela Effect reports seem to correlate with major CERN experiments, particularly when the collider is activated after maintenance periods. One post showed a timeline comparing new Mandela memories to Large Hadron Collider activity windows. It was unsettlingly close, and you can't read the classics. Berenstain Bears, most remember Berenstein. Pikachu's tail, no black tips, since when? The science speaks, and it's annoyed. Let's pump the proton brakes for a second. Not everyone buys the glitch in the matrix theory. In fact, most scientists are deeply unimpressed with the idea the world ended in 2012, and we're all living in the same parallel oops version of reality now. Now, here's the dealio, and I'm pretty sure that you're all going to be more or less on board with this. I don't fucking trust the scientists that say that this is stupid after things like Buttergate and COVID.
Yeah. How many times did we get told, trust the science, trust the science, trust the science? And it all turned out to be absolute bullshit.
Like, bro, if scientists are gonna spend 50 years lying about butter being bad for you so that sugar, like the big sugar, can make money, they certainly ain't gonna be fucking honest about quantum portals.
No. I mean,
Like-
even take it further than butter, right? Like, look at what they did with the food pyramid. They said you're supposed to have the most of the thing that's least healthy for you. Why? Why would you say that? Oh, because it's cheap and easy to get for people, and if you can convince them that it's good for them, you can get them to consume more of it, then you can make it cheaper, and who knows, maybe put things into it that maybe stunt people's
I
mental
actually
growth.
not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before that, I did a reaction stream, and one of the videos that was requested was one about how bad soy is. And it was like it was probably one of my favorite reaction video I've ever done. And I actually the other day decided to cut it up into an actual video. I know people saw it when it was live, but I'm gonna post this as its own thing because I want to get this out there because like I knew soy was bad.
Yeah,
I didn't fucking know how bad. Holy shit!
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh
terrible.
no.
CERN itself has made multiple public statements addressing these claims. Their stance: no, we did not open a portal. No, we're not summoning demons. We're just doing physics. Now, also, let's take the opening a portal part out of it. Just like how we don't know one way or the other if the universe shifted in 2012, wouldn't these scientists also technically not know because their mind would effectively be overwritten with the transfer to the new universe? Like,
so here's the fun thing about science that a lot of people don't like to address, and especially scientists hate when you bring this up, and that's why it's always funny to say it directly to their face. What you're doing is trying to figure shit out. You don't know shit. That, like, you don't know anything. You just know, okay, so far we've done this experiment this many times, and this has proven to be the thing that happens most frequently. Does that mean that it's going to happen every time? No. And they're all supposed to keep that in mind. That doesn't mean it's going to happen every time. And science is exploring how things work. And the times that it doesn't line up with what you expected it to be, and that's how you start to learn things. It's by having those inconsistencies, and they hate whenever things are inconsistent if it's what they believed.
and that's
it's
actually
all,
what
it's all
there's
there's theories of relativity. There's you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, okay, when you take to this, you have a hypothesis.
Oh, your mic's fucking up
Okay,
again.
like really, you know,
It's
it is
normal
storming
now.
out by. It is storming out by me though, so I might just be glitching out.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good now.
But
anyway,
yeah,
yeah,
no, so
continue.
these are theories. You have a hypothesis. You try your best to prove that hypothesis, but nothing is proven. It's just your results can support your hypothesis and that theory. It's they don't like to admit that. So when someone tells you that this is a scientific truth, they're full of shit.
Yeah.
What up, Jana? How you doing?
Hey, Jana.
All right, give me one moment here. I need to turn off my cameras. 1 sec.
Okay. That's the thing. Like, scientists, they have this thing where they think, okay, everything that I have been taught in my field of scientific study is true. So then if anything ever goes against what their field of study is or what they feel like they're an expert in, a lot of the time their ego gets in the way, and they have this feeling of, oh, maybe I don't know for a fact the thing. And that's why they push back so hard against other people having theories on the thing that they feel like they're a subject matter expert.
Well, dude, how many people are like, oh, Younger Dryas, the Great Flood, it doesn't make it. Dude, let's be real. All the evidence is there. You just don't like the fact that it contradicts what the accepted science has been for fucking 200 years or whatever. But also, we've already seen, like, once you get down to a certain level of how small shit is, the quantum level, effectively, the laws of physics break down.
Yeah.
So sure, you could say, all right, in the regular ass everyday world, we've got these laws, things that have been proven over and over, 100% success rate. Even that has its limits. And I'm sorry, I don't know. It's such a, obviously I'm not an expert. I'm not a particle physicist. I'm not a nuclear physicist, none of that. But I'm also not a fucking idiot. And I,
Right.
have heard the phrase, follow the money. And very often the money contradicts common sense.
True. I mean, so look at that. The just as a relevant, in as far as like this time goes, relevant to us saying that sometimes scientists get their ego hurt. Sometimes they don't want to admit that they may be wrong about things. The most recent episode of Joe Rogan Experience, number 2321, with Dr. Zahi Hawass. He made himself look like an idiot, and he is the former head of like Egyptian research or something in Egypt. And he just completely dismisses any other possible theory. He was disgraced for a little while, I think, and then he's kind of got back into the good light a little bit. But every time Joe would bring something up on the show, he would immediately dismiss it and say, no, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm not here to talk about that. I am the expert in Egyptian history. And so that person who said that other thing, they're completely wrong because I am the expert. I was like, you can't just definitively say that you're the only expert, but that's exactly what people like that do.
Dude, just like to scale this down to a much smaller and much less important degree. On Nadia's show a couple months ago, we had on a director of the George A. Romero's unreleased Resident Evil film documentary. I consider myself the Resident Evil expert, the Rexpert, if you will. There's nothing about RE I don't know. So when I watched this documentary, I learned two things from it. I did not know before. I was like, holy shit! I actually found a documentary that taught me something about Resident Evil. I've never imagine if I was like, no, that can't be true because I didn't hear about it. You think that me being the fucking Resident Evil expert since 1996 would fucking know about this? Like, no, you got to be open to fucking learning new shit. Like,
that's the only way that science ever progressed. Was they were open to learning shit.
Well, science is about learning, but they refuse to learn.
Well, and also it's a completely asinine notion where say two people read the same book and got the exact same thing out of it. People's minds work differently. That's why you have in the medical field, they have magazines and journals that they write to, where they all communicate, because what they're actually trying to do, what they should be doing anyway, is save lives. So, if someone has a theory and they haven't taken to that theory before or looked at that theory in that way before, well, that's something worth exploring then, isn't it?
Also, real quick, Stony Kenobi. Would love for you to check it out. If you sub to my channel and whatnot, I truly appreciate it. This is actually, I was a guest on a different channel, Horror with Nads, Nads, Horror Space Swiss Space Nads. It is on her channel. We interviewed the director. It was a great documentary. Glad you saw it. So yeah, if you want to watch it, check out the channel Horror with Nads, and it'll be in her backlog. Thank you for saying so, buddy. Here's what actual physicists say. The Large Hadron Collider collides particles to observe rare physical phenomenon like how matter gains mass, not to rip wormholes into alternate dimensions. In fact, if CERN could create a portal, they'd be the first to excitedly publish a peer-reviewed paper about it and throw a press conference. They live for that kind of thing. Okay. Bro.
Wait.
Go for it.
So, one, bullshit. They would not.
Agreed.
Number two, the accusation wasn't that they were doing it on purpose. The accusation was that it was a consequence, a
side effect
of what they were trying to do. That it was an unintended consequence of taking these actions that we thought were maybe dangerous. They could have these dangerous outcomes. It was never that they were intentionally trying to destroy the world, and I'm sure there are some that were that, but most people didn't take that. It was they could cause a problem, but if they did cause a problem,
and to be
do
fair,
you think
that's
they would
the risk
tell
of
us
science, and we're okay with it? We could have caused problems when making the fucking nuclear bombs in the Oppenheimer days. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, motherfuckers could have blown the fuck out of America by accident. I'm just saying, there's always risk, and frankly, I'm willing to accept the risk for the furtherment of science.
Sure.
If the science can be trusted, which I don't think it can nowadays. I think everything is too compromised by whether you want to say a cabal of elites up top, or just simply by money, or by their own confirmation bias. There could be nothing nefarious at foot, and it could just be their own confirmation bias.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the reason that I even bring that up is because this paragraph specifically takes away from people saying they could accidentally do something and tries to say they are intentionally trying to do thing. And they're like, no, we're not intentionally trying to do thing. So they're actually fighting back against an argument that was never made. They're trying to frame it, in this way of, oh, people told us that we were trying to do that. Nobody said that. No, people said it could happen. And now you're trying to set it up like that's what people were saying in the first place.
And again, if it did happen, because I want to be clear on this part, they wouldn't know, because if the reality shifted the way that we think they may have, the fact is we don't know, because everything is just a little off, and effectively most of the memory was rewritten, for lack of a better word. So it would have been for the people working on this as well. Like it's a universal thing. So if you did fuck up and accidentally put us in, let's say, a splinter universe, or merge two universes, or timelines, whatever it may be, you wouldn't know.
You wouldn't
which
know.
Is fine. We're not asking you to know. Just note that. I mean, is that not possible? All the science, by the way, does say that it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a reason that multiverse theory is a credible, looked at theory in academia. It's not just something in fucking sci-fi films. There's been hundreds of thousands of dollars of research put into trying to figure out if there is really a multiverse.
Michio Kaku, he's
I love
renowned
Michio Kaku.
physicist. Like he's a leftist retard whenever it comes to politics stuff. But as far as his understanding of physics and stuff goes, like, he is the guy who has pushed forth the string theory, and that there are different universes running parallel with each other.
He also pushed for quantum computing, which would change humanity as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's been we all, every single person on this panel and in the chat room is Bernstein. You are entirely correct.
DEAR.
One physicist even said in a BBC interview, "These theories are creative, but no, we didn't destroy the universe. I'd remember."
How?
But you wouldn't.
That's the whole point. I do like the author's response there, though. Rude.
What about the Mandela Effect? Psychologists and neuroscientists have studied false memories for decades. According to them, this is nothing supernatural, just your brain doing brain things. Okay, look, false memories are a thing. I mean, the human brain is notoriously unreliable. That's why eyewitness testimony is not actually that great. It's usually really inaccurate. Oh, he was a 6'4" black dude. Well, he's actually like 5'8" and Hispanic, but okay, by all means. You fucked it up because you were in a high-stress situation. Your brain was going mile a minute. You didn't focus on the grander things. That's fine. But we're talking millions of people the world over to all have the same singular unreliable memory. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, there's 91 people in this chat right now. What are the odds that all 90 fucking one of us remember the cornucopia, and all 100 now? Thanks for whoever the extra hundo was. The extra one was. There's 100 people now. What are the odds all 100 of us motherfuckers are misremembering a cornucopia? Mm-hmm. That's so infinitesimally small, even by just 100 people. Yeah. Now extrapolate that to the world populace.
It doesn't make sense. And you know, that's the thing. This is something that you could easily, the easiest route to take with this is to look at it and dismiss it and be like, oh, there's nothing there. The more scientific route is to actually look at it and go, okay, wait, why are so many people having this collective false memory?
Exactly. So yeah, let's address this comment real quick. CyberChud 2077 says the actual Mandela effect is really silly. Who thinks Nelson Mandela died in prison? The whole point of his story is that he got out of prison and they asked him to be president. No. That's why the Mandela effect's a thing, is because when he died in 2013, there was a massive, my father was one of them, contingent of people, usually from the older generation, that were there in the 60s, 70s, 80s, that remembered him. There were the reports of him dying in prison in the 80s. Like when Nelson Mandela died in 2013, I specifically remember my dad, who's not a conspiracy theorist, who your normal average Joe Blow, watches fucking streaming shows and football and does his lawn and enjoys working on cards. Picture perfect Americana guy. He actively went. I remember at the dinner table. It wasn't at the dinner table. Yeah, he was cooking dinner. Goes, I thought he died in the 80s.
I thought he died in prison. And he just went on with
his day. Like, he didn't look at it like it was some like fucking groundbreaking thing, or when he just shrugged. I was like, oh shit, I thought he died in the 80s. It went back to his day. But the fact of the matter is that happened all over the world. People had that same memory.
Yep. It was he died in, I think it was 83 or 84 whenever he was in prison, because that's what I had thought. And then I found out. I was like, oh no, you mean he's alive and he just died? Oh shit, I had no idea. But at that time, that's why it became known as the Mandela Effect. Because at that time, nobody looked into it. Nobody looked deeper into it. Everybody just thought they misremembered things. It was after that started happening with multiple things over and over and over that it got the name the Mandela Effect. Because yeah, like Emily said, I thought he died in prison.
Yeah. I swear on my mom, I remember it too, Leon. Yeah, there's so many folks that remember. I mean, the name doesn't come out of nowhere. It's called the Mandela Effect for a reason, because it was such a large spanning phenomenon that people that people remember this.
And it happened when? When did we get the name the Mandela Effect?
After he died in 2013.
In 2013, which was after CERN turned on the Large Hadron Collider, and that was the first time that we actually had moments of mass mismemory, I guess you would call it.
Oh, that's crazy.
Also, as for, because Cyberchild's asking what was he known for, bro, he was the most famous South African activist like in history. He was basically the MLK of South Africa, and they threw him in prison for it. Like Nelson Mandela had been a household name since the early 60s.
What do you mean, well, Hayden?
Let's just say Nelson Mandela.
Oh no, he's not a good dude.
History is a great person.
He was very anti-Semitic, hated Jews, very racist, pro-apartheid, the whole nine. I would say he was an activist. Is what I'm getting at. He was known in the political sphere as an activist.
Yes, he was extremely famous because of his activism. He was president for a while. They threw him in prison. Like, he had a long life that was very controversial, shall we say? And everybody thought that he died 20 years before he actually died.
Yeah, but he wasn't a rando. That's the thing, is that Nelson Mandela had been a household name like since around the time of the fucking Beatles. Yeah, it's like calling him a rando would be like calling Malcolm X a rando. Like, no, certain people gain prominence for the work they're doing, their activism, whatever it may be. Right. Like we would know.
Nadia raid.
Oh shit, that means I'm sorry, so sorry I missed the stream, Nadia. We're still going, but thank you so much for the raid and happy anniversary. I hope you guys had a fucking blast.
Happy anniversary! Oh my gosh.
We reconstruct memories, not replay them. So if your mind fills in gaps with familiar patterns, cultural references, or things that should be true, of course, because you had a black tip, right? That's normal. That's being human. And again, no one's saying that human memory is not only infallible, but even good. But to have these false memories in mass the world over, I'm sorry, there's got to be that just is so mathematically unlikely.
Yeah, without there being some credence or something to look into, and everybody dismisses this as, oh, there's nothing to look into here. You all just don't remember it properly. I was like, how can you say that half of the world remembers one thing, and because you don't, you're right? Like, you don't have that scientific curiosity to want to look deeper into it? Why? What is it that you know or refuse to accept?
Or, I mean, the amount of people, and this isn't directed to you, just so you know, Cyberchild, this is just a general statement. The amount of people that are comfortable with the status quo, the amount comfortable with not learning or digging deeper, it blows my mind. Because even if we're wrong, let's say that Egyptian historian is correct. Everything that Joe said, Younger Dryas, the fucking Sphinx, all that, maybe that is a hogwash. Let's just accept his premise for a moment that he is the historian. He's 100% correct. Where is the harm in having the human curiosity to want to verify that and learn more and try and make sure that the truth is the truth? That's something we should all be striving for.
That's supposed to be what science is. It's taking every possibility, looking at it and going, okay, is this a possible thing? What could possibly explain this? You're not supposed to shut out questions and other theories and be like, nope, didn't happen. I said so. We know that didn't happen. No, you're supposed to look into it and investigate whenever somebody brings up a new hypothesis or a new question, a new theory. You try to disprove things, and in return, you end up proving things as far as you can.
Yeah, that's well, first I want to address this super chat from Nads, and then so Naughty X came in. How deep you digging, Leon? And then a little winky face. Well, the show normally is an hour long, and we're almost at 2 hours, so I'd say pretty deep. I'm enjoying every moment of it. Thank you so much again. Truly a happy anniversary to you. And I feel like this will make you smile, and because I missed your stream and apologize, this is for you.
And a friendly reminder, fuck you, Leon.
But yeah, no, I remember there's another thing that my astronomy teacher, now he was regaling what someone that he worked with told him, like a scientist or a teacher of his or whatnot. But he said that the quote was, "Science is not to." Oh yeah, because he and I were talking about how we can both be pro science and be Christian. That's how the conversation stemmed. And he said to me, "Science is not the act of disproving God; it's the act of disproving things until you can get closer to God."
Yeah.
That's a great reconciliation of how to marry being a Christian, someone who believes in a supernatural afterlife and all powerful being, the whole nine, and the real world, the physical, everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like, they have the whole, is it creationism versus evolution debate, the debate that's happened since like Darwin, right? And it's like, my thought has always been, why couldn't those things be mutually exclusive, right? Like, why couldn't there be Bible says, 7 days? Why couldn't that have been 7 million years?
Well, by the way, here's my counter to that.
Who's saying how long days were?
Yeah, well, exactly. No. Well, Aramaic only had about 3,000 words in its entire lexicon. The word for day is the exact same as time. So it doesn't even mean 7 days. It actually, if you translate it properly, means 7 intervals of time.
Yeah, which could be anything.
Exactly. Here's where things get juicy. If the science is so certain, why do the theories still spread like wildfire? Because unlike the standard model of physics, conspiracy theories are fun. They give a chaotic event shape. They offer mystery, a sense of rebellion, a villain you can Google. No, fuck this paragraph. How many times have we had to put a quarter in the Alex Jones was right jar?
Yeah.
Conspiracy theories are just like later parts of the movie that haven't been spoiled for you yet at this point.
It's just spoilers.
Right. How many conspiracy theories? There's been so many. Dude, we were talking about this on a different stream. The government didn't actually acknowledge MK Ultra until 2013. Yeah. Now, people have been talking about MK Ultra since the fucking 60s, but it was not actually acknowledged by the U.S. government until the Obama administration.
Yeah. They just
blowing.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, so it's not. These don't catch fire because it's a conspiracy theory. They catch fire because people are asking questions about something that a lot of us are experiencing together. And then all of the people who are supposed to be the authority are going, no, you're wrong. Shut up. Stop asking questions. Stop asking about this. Stop saying that this is happening. Shut up.
The absolute arrogance from the scientific community will never cease to amaze me. Like you can't just for a moment say, what if we're wrong? Because let's be real, it's a pretty fucking good chance. It's a big, wide old universe out there.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, whenever they've come to a scientific
things that we've talked about throughout the entire time. How many times has something been the status quo, and then a couple years later we find that to be completely wrong?
That's exactly what I was fixing to say.
That's why I love, like when people buy those child raising books or the newest fad diet. It was like something always comes out 5 years later that disproves that shit. And you know what? And maybe because they're different disciplines or different things, or maybe two things can be true at once. And maybe a diet that works for somebody isn't going to work for somebody else. Or maybe, just maybe, not everybody knows what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, and then, Obi Dean, you have to be paid off to be a scientist nowadays, or you can be one of those scientists that goes on Joe Rogan and is called a fucking quack because, he's not accepted by mainstream science because he doesn't bow and count out of the games. Now, could he still be a quack? Absolutely. Sure. It could go either way, but I'm not going to immediately label a dude a quack just because he doesn't bow down and immediately count. Like, so many fucking scientists, it's pretty much been accepted for at least since I've been going to school, yeah, it was a large asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, extinction level event. We don't actually know that. And there are scientists that are like, well, that's one of the theories, and it's a really good one, but there actually is a lot of other possible things. We to this day, we don't know what fucking killed the dinosaurs.
Nope. And science used to be about asking questions. Now it's about them affirming what they have already posited.
I didn't even know that was in question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we don't actually have definitive proof of what killed the dinosaurs.
Oh, wow. And I just found this article about how
scientists have repeated it over and over and over. People look at it as fact, but there's actually a large contingent of what are they called, paleontologists and whatnot, that do push back on this, being like, it is a very plausible theory, but it's not the only one. Also, thank you so much, Emily.
Yeah, there's
fuck Bill Nye. Fuck
Yeah,
Bill Nye. I don't miss him at all.
No, thank you.
Although
go for it.
No. I was going to say, I do kind of appreciate the song. It was a little catchy.
Okay, the song was catchy. I have yet to have the in a submarine with Leon's dad dream. I'm sure Nadia has had that dream quite a bit. Let's be honest. When a sterile lab says nothing weird is happening and people keep noticing weird things, well, denial starts to look like confirmation. This article is so all over the place. At some points, it's like, it's a conspiracy theory because it's fun. At other points, it's like, no. Shit's happening. Did a fucking schizophrenic write this?
Yeah, I was gonna say this is very no, he's not a diddler.
He's not a diddler, but he does
dickhead.
believe that gender's on a spectrum and thinks that you should trans kids. So yeah,
Yes.
fuck Bill Nye. So what if it's true? Let's pretend.
This is what you're supposed to do as a scientist, by the way. You take it and you go, okay, let's investigate this. Let's see what the possibilities are. You don't just try to shut it down whole cloth and say, nope, that didn't happen. That's not true. You're supposed to look into these things and try to figure out what is the truth behind it. So thank you to the author of this article for at least including this in your ending here.
Let's toss Occam's razor out the window for a minute. Let's ignore the scientists, forget psychology, assume the tinfoil hat, you mean the tinfoil haters, got something right. What if CERN did shift us into another timeline? What would that actually mean? Imagine this. CERN's collider fired up in 2012. The energy levels just hit the right threshold somewhere in the deep quantum layers of reality, and the kind we don't fully understand, something cracked, like a hard drive glitching during an update. The universe auto-rebooted. But instead of a fresh start, we got loaded into Timeline 2. Timeline 2 looks a lot like Timeline 1 until you look closer. Logos are spelled wrong. Iconic movie lines are slightly off. People who died suddenly never did. Global vibes, just weird.
And cornucopias are missing.
Where did the cornucopias go?
Swear to God.
It's the multiverse version of putting your shirt on inside out, only no one told you. And maybe the folks who do remember Timeline 1, they're the outliers, the ones whose brains didn't fully sync to the new frequency. Glitchy uploads. I mean, and unfortunately, we don't know which is Timeline 1 and which is Timeline 2. Like, right. I remember Jiffy, not GIF, but maybe, was that Timeline 1 or is my memory false?
We don't know.
If you guys want to hear something weird, I remember GIF, and I also remember Nelson Mandela being alive my entire childhood.
Yeah, well, and that's not to say that only Timeline 1 and Timeline 2 merged.
Yeah.
There could have been 36 timelines that merged at the same time where everything was slightly different. And that's where you get some of the, okay, well, me and Leon remember Jiffy, but me and Cindy remember Berenstein being spelled Bear.
Yeah.
I still remember Berenstein, but it's Bere and Stein. Like there's, again, so many things off by just this little bit. The Chris Chan singularity event. Oh, no, that's terrifying.
Not the dimensional merge. No.
Hey, Leon, I hate to do this, but I gotta go. Unfortunately, but I had a good time and I learned quite a lot, guys. This is really interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Tell people who you are, what you do, the whole nine, and then we'll go from there. Do you have a stream or something? Stream tonight?
I will be streaming with The Plot Strikes Back in a little bit. I'm going to help him fix his OBS, hopefully. So, guys, check it out. And let's see. I cover anime, gaming, and a little bit of horror now and again. So it's nice to do conspiracy theories like this. But I will see all you cuties later. Keep an eye out for my streams, yeah?
She just got monetized. Make sure when she streams you donate because mad congrats, Cindy. Catch you later, girly.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Cindy.
Think of it like waking up from a vivid dream and realizing the dream was your real life. And maybe that's why some people feel out of place in the world now. Why some swear their childhood feels different. Why Gen Z thinks boomers are from a different dimension. Maybe they are. Here's the kicker. If this were true, there'd be no real way to prove it. Because in this new version of reality, all the evidence changed with us. Your memories, they're now the only artifacts from a world that may no longer exist. Which makes you the unreliable narrator of your own life story. And that is terrifying.
And true. Like that's the whole thing.
What's this? Where's this?
Oh my god.
Oh no, what the fuck? I just realized what that was. Well, back to this. Somehow this is less terrifying. Of course, the curse of the Mandela Effect isn't in the theory, it's the afterglow. Once you've seen one glitch, you're going to start to see them everywhere. You'll walk past a cereal box and do a double take. You'll pause during a movie wondering, did he say that line differently before? You'll start side-eyeing logos, celebrities, timelines, your own memories. And when someone says it's always been that way, you'll hesitate. You'll think, has it really? Or did we just download the patch notes too late? This is what makes the Mandela Effect stick, not just the false memories, but the psychological whiplash of not knowing what's real anymore. And in a world ruled by algorithms, deepfakes, AI voices, and manipulated truths, that fear hits hard. The internet has made it worse. Of course it did. TikTok creators string together quantum theories with side-eye humor. Reddit users spin time switch testimonies into digital campfire stories. YouTube rabbit holes promise the truth CERN won't tell you. And maybe it's all just entertainment. Maybe it's groupthink. Or maybe, just maybe, we are remembering echoes of a life we no longer live. Because once you start questioning the reality, you start questioning everything. And suddenly, Berenstain feels like a scar, a tiny glitch stitched in the fabric of your timeline. Any thoughts before we get to the conclusion?
No, I mean, that little segment right there, that perfectly encapsulates what the issue is with it, right? We don't know what's real and what's not. And any evidence of any of that history, just like we were talking about with, like, you know, me and Cindy both remembering the Sinbad movie, the Shazam. Like, there is no evidence that existed, but for our collective memories all being the same. There's been people who have described scenes from it online saying, no, I remember this scene specifically.
The scenes
from
that
the
do
movie.
not exist in the Kazam movie, by the way, that everyone tries to say you're remembering Kazam. No, these scenes don't even exist. So it's not even a case of you're remembering the wrong movie. That would be like describing a scene in Star Wars that just flat out never existed.
Never happened. But people collectively are coming together and going, yes, I remember that. And being one of those people, I can tell you, I do legitimately remember these things. And there's no evidence of them. And that does start the, like, reality breakdown, right? Like, I can't imagine being a schizophrenic and also being somebody who has the Mandela effect regularly hitting them. Where it's like,
bro,
I don't know what's
I
real
heard
and
this
what's
story.
not.
I'm going to deviate for a moment, but I heard this. So this is like supposedly a true story. If you believe in ghosts and stuff like this, this broke my fucking brain when I read it. Girl has schizophrenia. Now she knows she has it. She's getting back on her feet after being in the mental hospital for a while. Her brother helps her rent a little, like, space above a coffee shop, and there's an attic to it. And so since she just gets government, like, welfare and whatnot, because she's too schizo to hold a job, she's like, she does paintings and she sells her paintings on Etsy. That's her only sort of income besides government assistance. Well, she starts storing her paintings in the attic. Now, when she's going to bed, she is hearing screaming and moaning and saying, kill yourself, get the fuck out of my house, you bitch, all this shit. And she's like, fuck, the voices are coming back because she's schizo. She's like, I don't want to tell my psychiatrist this because they're going to send me back to the institution. I'm just going to keep taking my meds, hope this goes away. And then she goes up into the attic to start storing her paintings. And there's a woman there, an old woman, screaming at her, telling her to fucking kill yourself. Get out of this house, you bitch. You don't belong here. And she's like, God, they're getting so bad that I'm hallucinating again because this has happened before. I've hallucinated things aren't there because of my schizophrenia. And so she just lives with it for like a year and a half until the guy that owned the coffee shop is selling the building. And so she has to move somewhere else. Her brother comes over, the same brother that helped her put the paintings, get the apartment. Her brother comes over to help her get all the paintings out of the attic, and this entity, this old woman, starts screaming and telling him to get, and he bolts and grabs, he takes her, like, what the fuck, and like, so they saw this apparition, this screaming ghost, and at that point the woman's like, oh my god, my schizophrenia medication's been working, and I've been living with a fucking ghost for a year and a half.
That was wild.
How insane is that? That's a supposedly true horror story. I listen to this podcast called Scared to Death, and they always do like 2 horror stories that are supposedly true that are user submitted, and that was one of the user submitted ones. So she's like, out the gate, I know I have schizophrenia. I know that could cause a lot of this to be looked at as not true, whatnot. So she was very over with her mental illness from the beginning. But like that story broke my fucking brain.
So I've actually got just staying on your little deviation there real quick.
Go for it.
I've actually got a ghost story that I experienced.
Oh, real quick, Hypno Raid, my man. Thank you so much. Hypnotic Show, shout the fuck out. Thank you so much. Bigot Army, rise up. We're about to hear a ghost story from Hayden's personal life. So, this is gonna be exciting. You guys came in at a good time. Bigot Army Raid. Continue, Hayden.
Yeah, so I won't tell the whole story, but a lot of this did actually happen coincidentally around 2012. It's actually uploaded on the Moonskull YouTube channel. That's Erudai.
Oh yeah, nice. I stream with him. They're fucking great.
Yeah. So I actually sent them the story, and Erudai did like a dramatic reading, and him and Sevi put together a nice little video of it. That's cool. But basically, it's the story of when my frequent nightmares started, and some of the experiences that happened around that. Like I was convinced that I saw beings from some other plane of existence, some type of apparition, something was going on, and it was communicating with me. And I at one point dismissed it and was like, no, definitely not me, until one night I had a couple of friends and my girlfriend at the time's daughter all experienced something coming into the house at the same time while I was asleep. And then dealing with the aftermath of all of them having these, basic panic attacks because they all saw this thing that was terrifying, but I had been seeing it for a couple of years at that point. So I was able to be more calm.
No, I'm sorry.
No, it's just I was able to, because I had already processed it and been dealing with it for so long. They saw it. All of them panicked, and I had to like calm everybody down. And after a couple of weeks, we just decided like, okay, we're just not going to talk about this anymore. And luckily, they weren't affected anymore. But I still have the nightmares at night.
I actually have a very similar story to that, and this is the only time in my life where I think something truly supernatural has happened. Because again, I'm while I do believe in a lot of the woo-woo and all that, I think that 99% of it can be explained. That's why the Mandela Effect that we're talking about tonight, for example, is so fascinating, because it can't be, and it seems so plausible. But like, this is the only what I consider true paranormal thing that never happened to me. And it's a story in 2 parts. The first part, I'm like 14 years old. I'm in 8th grade at the time, and so I live in a trailer out in the woods, and I would watch TV to go to bed. I would watch Naruto on the DVDs, and I would set a TV timer, like a sleep timer, so that it turned off automatically. So out like opposite the TV was a window, so that the silhouette of the tree outside would shine into my room at night. The moon was out or whatever. And one night I go to bed, I'm watching Naruto, I fall asleep. I wake up to the room being totally black because I had set the TV timer, except for the silhouette of the tree. And on the tree branch is a little, what I can only describe as an imp-like creature, like moving all like puppety and like jerking around and and it freaked the fuck out of me. And I was paralyzed. So years later I was like, okay, maybe sleep paralysis. So I fall back to sleep. I eventually wake up like 6 a.m. It's time for school. And I was like, okay, it was a nightmare. Whatever, it was a nightmare. Never really experienced it again, the whole 9. I'm 21 or 22. Years later, I'm 21 or 22. I had just gone through my divorce. I'm living in an apartment on my own for the first time, God knows how long. and I'm drinking a lot, depressed, divorced, whatever. I'm drinking a lot. And I was always falling asleep on the couch after heavily drinking, but out of my peripheral, I would start seeing this dancing figure. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, whatever. It's side effect of the depression, the drinking, whatnot. It's probably just a memory from when I was 16. I explained it away like it was nothing. It didn't frighten me or whatever. So my buddy Cookies, friend of the channel, my roommate, you guys know Cookies if you've seen my streams before. He comes over one night. He would come over and drink me all the time, and he would usually stay the night with me. And on the nights he would stay the night, I'd sleep in my bedroom. He'd sleep on the couch. And so one night we're drinking. He's drunk. We're both drunk. He's like, all right, I'm going to go home. I'm like, no, you can't be driving. You're drunk. I know you only live a couple blocks away. But just stay the night. He's like, I'm going to be real, man. Every time you go to your bedroom to go to bed and I sleep on the couch, there's this weird little creepy gremlin imp-like shadow that dances on the wall, and I feel like it's staring at me. And I fucking froze because I had never told him about that story, or that from when I was 16 or 14, or that I had been seeing it in this apartment, because never. And so I was like, wait. And it was like confirmation that someone else saw it too, which means it was real. It wasn't just a bad dream or a nightmare or anything like that. But ever since that night, like when he said it out loud, I've never seen this thing again. It's been fucking 10 years. So it's like the acknowledgement from a third party drove it away or whatever. I've never seen it since.
That's wild.
Yeah, my wife actually thinks that I'm like sensitive, or that like I attract things like that. So just long story short, because you guys don't know my father. My dad is not a superstitious man, but it freaks me out when he tells me this story, because it happened when I was a baby, and then I've since had plenty of paranormal experiences since then. But my dad, I'll be like, do you believe in ghosts? And he'll be like, no. And I'll be like, well, why did we move out of our first house? And he'd be like, because it was haunted. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't necessarily track. But so when I was born, my parents were already living in this house.
The mic. All right, there you go. Try again.
Damn it. Yeah, so when I was born, my parents were, they had a house, and everything was fine. I guess the old man who used to live there died in it. And it wasn't until they started changing things up in the house to like build my nursery that things started to get weird. My ma said she would hear breathing and stuff, and it got to a point where they started testing, where my dad was like, hey, if somebody's in the house, they turned all the lights off, the light in the attic will be on. Well, sure as shit, when they got home from dinner, the light in the attic's on. And then my dad would leave out money for my mom, just when she's like going grocery shopping and like taking care of me. My mom would get up and the money would be torn in half. Wow. And so one day I think my dad was at like a Lions game or something, a Pistons game, Red Wings game, whatever it is. And my mom is holding me on the porch. She won't go back inside. And my dad said, like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm not setting foot in that house ever again. And my dad said he went in, he said all the cupboards and all the drawers were opening and closing. And then so for the next couple months, we lived with my grandparents until they bought a new house. And even then, my mom would not go in to get her shit. Nothing. But it's funny because you'll talk to my dad, because he'll be like, nah, none of that shit. I don't believe in any of that shit. And we're like, well, why? He was like, well, it was haunted. All the doors
haunted,
were
obviously.
And I was like, how do you not believe in ghosts? He's like, I just don't believe in it. But yeah, I've had plenty of other experiences. But and then more, my wife started catching up on it, where I would have, I am also a terrible dreamer, and I would start to dream things, and then she would start to dream things, and that's why we had to move out of our first condo. Luckily, since I've moved here, I've never had any paranormal experiences.
Oh, that's good.
So
instead you just have a lot of big black community up there in Detroit, so you got different monsters to worry about.
Yeah, there's a different reason my TV's floating in the middle of the night, but
Dude, I gotta come on one night just to talk to you guys about some spooky stuff.
Dude,
Oh, hell
we love doing that. We every now and
I
again,
got
if
a
we
couple.
don't have a topic or like if we have a guest, like hey, we have to postpone it. That's our go-to. Like, all right, let's just talk about just pull up like real ghost con film shit like that. So yeah, we can absolutely.
Yeah, I've watched
do a-
several of those streams you guys doing
Oh,
that. But no, I'd love to
love
come
it.
on and just focus on some of the spooky stuff because I've got one of the things that happens to me. Just sticking on this for a second before we get back.
Yeah, go for it.
So
There we go.
a lot of the nights that I have, nightmares and stuff like that. Again, I try not to dream or have any nightmares because they're terrible, visceral nightmares. But there is one thing that I hear consistently, and I might not even be dreaming. I might just be asleep. I hear a knock, and it sounds like somebody putting a fist through the wall right above my head. And it's just once, and it jolts
That's
me
called
out of sleep.
the Kyle ghost.
I'm not familiar with this.
He
Like
goes, Monster Energy drink.
Oh yeah, okay. No, but
Tap
it is.
out.
It's a really hard just pow right above my
Mhm.
head, and it jolts me out of sleep. Leon, I think your camera died. Just so you know, if you can still hear us. But it jolts me out of sleep, and I can't go back to sleep afterward. It usually only happens once, but it happens, and I'm up for the rest of the night. There is no going back to sleep after that happens because I hear it. I feel like the vibration of it happening right next to me, and it's just one loud bang, and that's it. Like I said, it'll pull me out of sleeping from no dream at all. It very rarely pulls me out of a nightmare. Most of the time, whenever I have nightmares, I'm stuck in them.
Yep.
But yeah, that knock is a thing that also started around the 2012 time, and it's been something I've been dealing with ever since.
Yeah, I'm always something's always grabbing my foot and pulling me.
Oof.
So much so, and now I'm like that too. So like when I'm stuck in a dream, I'm in it. It was like, and I've always had strange dreams. Like there was one time like I dreamed that my grandfather was gonna die, and he was like dead within like 2 days. Like it was like
I've had a couple similar situations.
But there was one time, and I'm my poor wife. I'm terrible. I've gone to catch fly balls. I've
Yeah, you do the whole flailing around in bed.
There was one time. There was this kid who I used to get into like scuffles with in 7th grade. I dreamed I was hitting him, and I was like, I remember going, "Now I got you right where I want you, you son of a bitch." And I hear, "Ow!" And like in my sleep, I was like, that sounded like my wife. And she's like, "What the fuck is the matter? You just punched me in the elbow." But so no, there's one time I'm having the sensation that I'm getting pulled, right?
Yeah.
And I'm grabbing my wife like by the wrist because like I'm halfway off the bed. Like I'm not I didn't wiggle or anything. My wife said I just slid, and then all of a sudden, like I grabbed her. She thought I was falling out of the bed. But how are you falling?
Yeah,
going
falling horizontally.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's it. Now there is stuff like that happens, and I've experienced, like I said, a couple of things like physical before as well. But nothing quite as bad as like being drug out of the bed or anything like that. That's crazy. But I also believe entirely possible. Like I believe that it happens to people.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I think I just get into like a certain thing, and I can sense things. I don't know what it is. I don't know. You know, I'm just kind of like prone to it. Where. Or another thing that I'll get, which might just be mental illness. Like I could be in certain places and like I'll walk into a room and like I'll feel dread. Where it was like I don't know what the story is here, but I don't like this room.
So one time I went to a house party whenever I was about 20. I want to say 22 or 23. And whenever I walked into this house, there were maybe like 15 people ish there. And I walked in and I had that like immense feeling of just like dread and sorrow. And I just kind of stood there in the middle of the room. And somebody asked the dude that I showed up with, he go, "What's up with your buddy?" And I looked and I go, "What happened right there?" And I was pointing over by the pool table. And the guy who owns the house goes, "What?" And I said, "What happened right there?"
Mm-hmm.
He kicked everybody out of the house. Oh, he tried to kick me out first. And then my buddy was like, "No, he's cool, dude. Like, don't." But then he ends up kicking everybody else out of the house. And we're sitting in that room. And he looks at me and he goes, "That's where my dad hung himself." Right there, where you were pointing. That's why I put the pool table there, so that nobody could ever hang themselves from that rafter again. And his dad had hung himself there. And then once I, had said like, that's kind of, I was getting that dread feeling.
Yeah.
And
it's like this
brought
sick
me into their
vindication.
closet. Yeah, it is. It really is, because you're like, okay, I knew something was going on.
Yeah, no, we found that out in our first condo, and I kept having reoccurring dreams of a girl hanging herself in our master bedroom closet.
Mm.
And then we did a little research, and we talked to the previous owner, and like, no, we actually got like the woman.
One hell of a story.
Yeah, I was
listening on my phone.
The woman killed herself.
Holy shit!
In the condo. And she hung herself in that closet. And then once we made this discovery, really weird shit started to happen. That's when we had to move, where like things would not slide, but like fling themselves off the top of our refrigerator.
Right.
Like full bottles of wine, things that shouldn't move. And we checked, like, it was like, is it on an angle or anything? Why did just this bottle of wine fall, and none of the shit on the other side of it is like, you could still see the dust from like, because like, how often do you clean the very top back of your refrigerator?
Yeah.
Like things like that. And eventually it, like weird noises. And like at the time, no one lived below us. No one lived to the side of us. We were the only unit that was occupied. So and then all like things just kept getting weirder and weirder. And then we moved, and we hadn't had anything like that happen since. Like, it was just like, but it was yeah. But like, yeah, I remember feeling kind of like a weird pit in my gut where they're like, "Oh no, that's The previous owner, she hung herself in that closet," and she's like, "Did you look that up?" And I was like, "No, I've been dreaming it, and actually, my wife started dreaming it too."
Yeah, we felt like there was something off with the closet, so we thought we'd ask. Yeah, that's
well, and it's funny too, because we had.
I'm really proud of the chat that nobody up to this point has said, "Oh yeah, Leon was in that closet." Joke yet. And now that I've said it, if they say it, it's not gonna be funny anymore. I beat you guys to it.
Nice. No, but I'm saying it was like we didn't really put a lot of things in that closet because like we just didn't like being there. So like I would get this like. You get this weird irrational feel where it was like, I'm going in there to get my t-shirt, like that's hanging up in there, and then the light's gonna go out and the door's gonna close, and like I'm just gonna be
you're gonna be trapped in there forever.
Yeah, and it was just like I just couldn't do it.
Well, let's go ahead and wrap on the Mandela Effect. We've been going for a little over 2 hours, and I don't want to blow our load when we do. No, like these are such great stories. I want to do a second episode at some point where we talk ghost shit. And so I want to blow our load on that. So yeah, let's go ahead and let me pull this back up. We'll finish out this, and then we'll do our final thoughts on the Mandela Effect, CERN, the whole nine. Conclusion: reality may be fine, but your brain isn't. So did CERN rip open a dimensional wormhole and shove us into a backup universe? Probably not, unless, according to the science, we're safe. No glitches, no portals, just particle collisions and misunderstood memories, and our fallible human brains doing what they've always done, filling in the gaps. But here's the real kicker. Even if none of this is true, it feels true. The Mandela Effect taps into something primal, our fear of losing control or forgetting the past, waking up in a world we can't quite trust. And once you notice it, you don't stop noticing it. Maybe the universe didn't shift. Maybe you did. Whether you blame CERN, timelines, your brain's poor filing system, one thing's for sure, the scariest portals aren't in Switzerland. They're in your head. And that is, I disagree with the conclusion of this because I, again, think that it absolutely did happen. But that's what we'll do. We're gonna round this out. And in fact, I will put a poll in the chat. Give me one moment here. That is the emote button to see if you guys believe as well.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what chat thinks about it because, going from us, everything kind of stemming off of 2012 and when they fired up the Large Hadron Collider and like how everything started to feel kind of weird after that, how the political atmosphere changed. I personally think that the conclusion of that article where they said, oh, well, it's in your head. Well, yeah, but that's the problem, right? Is that the only place that it actually exists is in the heads of the people who are experiencing the Mandela effect. The issue comes from the fact that it is millions of people all around the world having the same memories of something that apparently never happened. And then the scientific community comes back and says, yeah, but don't ask questions about it.
Yeah.
You want to know something that's interesting? It probably is just a coincidence, but something's interesting. I've done a lot of streams since doing YouTube. I've been doing this for around 2 years now. I've only ever had my internet die on a stream twice, and both times it's been during Tinfoil Haters.
Really?
Yeah, it did die.
I swear, yeah.
Ago.
You remember that? It happened like our third episode or fourth episode, and it just now happened again. I've never had my internet die on me during any other stream. Gameplays, Neon Leon's, Countercast, nothing. Only when we do our conspiracy theory talk has my internet ever gone down.
What were you talking about in that episode, Leon? Were you getting too close to the truth?
Was that our Men in Black episode?
I think it was.
I think it was the Men. I'd have to go back and watch, but I think it may have been the Men in Black episode.
It might have been the Q episode too.
Oh, yeah, it may have been QAnon. You're right. Yeah, it may have been QAnon as well. Yeah, one of the two.
It was right around
Sammy's
that era.
Cutting out tonight.
Yeah, brand new mic.
Maybe Mothman, but I don't think it was Mothman. Either way. So yeah, Sammy, your thoughts, man. Mandela Effect, CERN, real, not real. Where are you at with it?
Oh no, I believe in all of it, and just like what we were talking about, it was like, how do you have these? Even if you say, hey, I kind of thought that was a thing, that's one thing. But when you have, thousands of people going, no, I remember this specific scene in the movie where this happened, or I had a book, on my nightstand. My mother used to read this to me.
Yeah.
Something's up. Like I can't explain exactly what it is, but I was like, no, I buy into this theory wholeheartedly, and especially we've all just said that around 2012, 2013, we thought not only was there a big shift in political aspects and just the cultural zeitgeist in general, just how we felt inside, where we were going like, this don't feel right.
Something's weird.
Yeah.
Couldn't place a finger on what it was.
I really like this comment right here that I have highlighted. Even if the Mandela Effect isn't weird or isn't real, CERN is still fishy as fuck. Like we talked about a lot earlier. The science can't be trusted. Scientists can't be trusted. So even if this isn't real, CERN themselves are still fishy. And I'm all in on this one. I fully believe in the Mandela Effect. Again, some things can be explained. Luke, I'm your father, as opposed to no, I'm your father. Yeah. That can be easily explained. Same with you like me, you really like me. There are easy ones. But there's some that absolutely are not. And about what Hayden said, when you got millions upon millions of people having the exact same incorrect memory, and it all stems back to, again, we talked about, because before the raid came in, we talked about this earlier, guys. Not only did the 2012 activation of CERN coincide with when the political sphere seemed to get overnight volatile, it seems like it's gotten worse and worse, and CERN has continued to be activated over and over. Every time it seems like it's just making so at this point we're not in universe 1 or 2 or 3. Who knows what timeline we're in, what number it is.
You know what I'd be really interested in researching is now it's one thing as Americans to talk about the Mandela effect. You guys said that your parents remembered like, hey, he died in the I remember, you know, just kind of seeing things about him. I even remember Norm Macdonald making a joke about him on Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live. Like, I remember that specifically as a child. I wonder how many people felt this in South Africa.
Well, we know a South African. Why don't we ask him? Andy from the Doolies is South African.
True.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We got a direct line to a South African that we can ask. So yeah, I'll hit up Andy and I will. I'll ask him what the Mandela effect is like in South Africa, because that's a very good question, Sammy. Also, overwhelmingly, chat has said yes, they believe in the Mandela effect. So far, 86% yes, 14% no. We're gonna keep it going a little bit longer. Yep, Andy. And with that, I think we're gonna wrap. We got a couple of super chats I didn't hit. Jake Martin with that 5-banger. This has been the best goddamn tinfoil of haters of all time. Every episode getting better and better, homie. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. This is absolutely one of my favorites as well. This one really liked Mothman. There's been a few that I think are absolute bangers. But yeah, this is easily top 5 so far. Granted, we're only 17 episodes into the series, but for those of you new that Hypno did the raid, we do this every Tuesday. Tinfoil of haters, and it's always either a conspiracy theory or something supernatural, and we just go through basically whether or not we go through the evidence to see if we can debunk it, see if it's real. Aliens, nothing's off limits. If you have topic suggestions, you can drop them in my Discord, things to that effect. So yeah, love doing this show. Thank you so much, Jake. And then phone collecting from $4.99, absolute banger show tonight. Here's some cash for extra Reynolds wrap for next week. Good point. I need to make a new tinfoil hat. Mine's not very good. It's like a tinfoil turban. Let's give you guys a clip real quick. For a 2-banger, since 2 you did back to back, we'll give you a trace as a clown.
Leon, Moxie, are y'all niggas happy? Y'all happy? You proud of yourself? I hope you niggas is happy. Congratulations to all the new single moms on the channel, but I just hope you niggas are just so happy with what you've done.
Guys, never crack me up.
Oh yeah, no, dude, I love it. I love it so much. We're gonna go ahead and get on out of here. Before that, we got some outros to do. Also, and then Sick Inside came in with $6.99 Canadian. Thank you. I think this is my new Tuesday night. Hey, hell yeah, you love to see it. Well, thank you. Tuesday main event. Yeah, again. Every Tuesday. Normally we start at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. There was a pickup today where we had to do it a little bit later. But either way, it's a great time. So thank you so much. Here's your clip, brother. And nothing else to do but do the send-offs. Hayden Wayne, my man with a plan. Tell the people who you are, what you do, and where they can find you. Also, stick around for the raid info after this. We will be raiding.
Yeah, so I am Hayden Wayne 75. You can find me on X or here on YouTube, where sometimes I make videos. Working on getting back into it. Gonna have a live stream starting sometime here pretty soon. But you can catch me every Monday on Alec Baldwin's Fingers channel, where we do Off the Hit. Every Tuesday night at, I believe it's 10 p.m. East. No, it's 10 p.m. Central. I am on Nerd Wars channel. Yeah, it's right after this show.
Which I apologize. We don't normally go this long, so I didn't want to interfere with that Tuesday show. My bad.
No, it's all good. I told Erwin earlier I wasn't going to be there. We do politics talk on Erwin's channel every Tuesday night right after this show. And then every Wednesday, I am one of the co-hosts of the GCA. You find us on the GCA. I think it's the GCA pod. But yeah, we do Late and Gay.
I was on for the first time last week, and it was fucking awesome. I love it. Being on Late and Gay with the GCA was a blast.
Yeah, we're all just a bunch of friends that hang out, and then we talk about some pop culture stuff, maybe some video games one day, maybe we've got random topics that we cover every week, but it's just a bunch of friends hanging out, and we also do videos. We do movie reviews and stuff. Hoodie D and Lady Medea do our movie reviews most of the time. Other people sometimes kind of cycle in for some of those. So we got a lot going over there on the GCA channel. So go check that out if you haven't yet. And our Discord. We are always in the GCA Discord, hanging out, having fun. At night, you can find a lot of us in there. We're hanging out, shooting the shit. We do watch parties. Sometimes people are just streaming video games, and there's 10, 15 of us just hanging out and shooting shit. So come hang out with us over at the GCA.
You'll love to see it. Piranha Pal for a 2-banger says, "Hey Leon, what you doing?" Making a Phineas and Ferb reference. And
Women.
Sammy, tell the people who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Sammy 3-Pete. I'm a Detroit-based musician. I'm in a band called Staggerly, but you can also just find my opinions on Twitter at Sammy 3-Pete. Every now and then I'll make videos on YouTube. You can also find that at Sammy 3-Pete. But every Saturday I have Cavecast, which is an academic approach to the world and lore of Batman.
And you're going to need to fix your mic before your next stream. I don't know if it's a loose cable or what.
It only goes out for a couple of seconds, and then it comes right back, though.
That's what the other one was doing. This is a brand new microphone.
It might be your connection into your mixer or something, then.
And no, it's a brand new interface.
Oh, weird.
The ghosts, they found me.
So yeah, maybe your shit's just haunted, bro. Anyway, continue telling people who you are, what you do. My bad.
No, and then every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, there's in other news. That's where I invite people from the nerdosphere to come and talk about nothing nerdy. We will discuss stupid headlines and any other thing that pops into my maniac brain. So
if you haven't seen it, that show's a ton of fun. I've been on
before.
before.
A very fun show.
And you're welcome back anytime.
And last but not least, you got me. Well, for one, I released a video today, a very long video, nearly 2 hours of me reacting to Nux Taku, reacting to Asmongold, reacting to Turkey Tom about the Alyssa Mercante situation. I've never done a video
that was. By the way, you cameoed in that fucking video.
I know, dude. I feel like I've made it. Like Nux Taku showed me for a few seconds on his channel. What? I feel like I've made it as a YouTuber now. Fucking Nux Taku. But yeah, no, it's a very fun video. So yeah, you guys have 2 hours to burn, and you want to hear me and a bunch of other nerds spurg out about how retarded Alyssa Mercante is. She's the gift that keeps on giving. I haven't talked about her in months, but I couldn't pass up the chance to do a reaction video to Nux. So check that out. Other than that, we've got we've got Neon Leon every Friday. We hit goal on that. We do these Sunday special streams where we do reaction videos, gaming, whatever the chat decides. And of course, Countercast. The 100th episode of Countercast is this coming Monday. Hypno is our guest. It's going to be a banger show. And beyond that, I just want to say thank you to everybody who sent the donations, who help support this channel. Every bit of it goes back into the channel. We'll be upgrading the PC, mic, and camera all very soon to give you guys an even better quality show. And for those that can't or don't want to or whatnot, I just appreciate you being in the chat. It means the world to me. Keeps the conversation stimulated. And it's nice to be able to take a break from talking about nerd culture to every now and again indulge in conspiracies and politics and the supernatural. And that's what we like doing here on TFH. So again, thank you so much. We are going to be rating Irwin Nerd Wars for his politics show right now. So go over there, give him a vital idol raid in the comments. And until next time, it's all here in the Nerdosphere. And this has been Words of Paradise.